tell it where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Well, howdy, y'all. We are here once again for another Tuesday night here on the Ballroom Podcast, episode 53. And believe it or not, for the first time ever, we're actually streaming on Kick. So you can thank this person right here for bullying us into joining the Kick platform. We only have a couple of followers there right now, but we are live on the air, just like we are on Rumble and on YouTube right now. And I just wanted to say, good little how do you do? How are you guys doing on a Tuesday night here on the lovely Earth that's spinning around? That's hopefully going to explode sometime soon in the next future. Guys doing all right?
Can't complain, man. It's another day above ground, right?
Still alive.
Yeah. Rather watch this on Kick than Amaranth.
Oh, God, yeah. I can go on a whole rant about that. Hey, remember when her husband reportedly forced her to do a pour on the internet?
Yeah.
And now she's just back to doing like hot tub videos, and no one's supposed to bring up the fact
taking showers with other
fucking making
women.
$30K a week on OnlyFans.
Yeah, boo-hoo, poor woman.
Took the fucking bullet for you all just to learn this shit.
Keep in mind, even when she was trying to soak up sympathy, the only thing she was really complaining about was having to split the money with her husband. That was what broke the camel's back for her. So, but we're here tonight with our lovely group of cohorts. We got Mr. Orange Hat Reviews joining us here tonight. How you doing, Orange?
Good. Just did my 100th episode for my Mr. Reviews. So, yeah, nice little milestone.
Congratulations.
Word.
We got the lovely Cider here joining us once again. How you doing today, Cider?
Why am I the lovely one?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to like soup you up just a little bit. I mean, you don't want to just be like, oh, here's the grumpy stoner again who's back once again.
Well, cider happens to be my favorite alcoholic beverage, so.
Oh, I drink the non-alcoholic.
And then Cassie was supposed to be on the show tonight, but I don't think she's going to be on anymore after that comment. No, actually, we have to keep her on because Rob Motter isn't here tonight. So you have to. The gap between most appearances here on the show is starting to widen now because Rob is somewhere between Nebraska or Idaho, somewhere one of those like tornado alley city states right now. So yeah, he'll be.
He's going through the alley.
Yeah, exactly. For once, I actually agree with Spencer. So there you go.
That was a one.
Yeah. As you guys know, Rick is always fashioning me late, and CS Johnson will be here a little bit later on tonight. So we'll have to hold off the Ezra Miller talk until later on here on the show. But let's go ahead and introduce everyone who's here in the chat with us tonight. Neo Zoic always joining us here, saying howdy Barroom crew, everyone in the chat. Fun question: which comic book movie would you rather watch, The Dark Knight or Logan?
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, I saw The Dark Knight 5 times. I'm cool with seeing it a 6th.
Yeah, I have to go with that one. But I mean, look, don't sleep on Logan. Logan's a great movie too. But I mean,
Logan's a good movie, but it's just one of those things where it's like Wolverine ×2. I just felt like that was unnecessary.
Yeah, and now we're bringing him back for another Wolverine movie that's probably going to come out in the next 5 years. So I mean, be excited about new product. Because Disney's hitting nothing but home runs. That's what we'll talk about here in a little bit. Spencer says that he would go with Logan. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe his opinion is discredited, like always. Doa Fett joining us here tonight. Alex versus Evil, who's on the chats with us. Cassie's going to be handing you guys some band hammers later on throughout the show. So just don't say anything stupid. Let's see here. We have a couple people with us on Rumble as well. Like I said, we are live on Kick as well. So if you guys want to watch us, we're on a bunch of different platforms. Come check us out. But we're gonna like I said, we want Johnson to be on here for the Ezra Miller talks. We're gonna save that one for later and start off with Disney because it has been an absolute dumpster fire over at Disney for quite some time now. I think we're now at 6 movies in the past calendar year, which means that just one full year from where we are right now that have lost over $100 million or more for Disney. And this one looks to be another one bites the dust. Elemental, I'm not sure how many people actually knew about this film, because I think after a while they kind of gave up on actually trying to promote it. But it was the premise was supposed to be, in a world where people are elements, you have a water person and a fire person, and they want to, I guess, be married or be happy together or some nonsense like that. There's an allegory to a whole bunch of other things. Who really cares? Because nobody saw this movie. And at the worst opening of any weekend Pixar film ever. So Pixar used to be the gold standard for animated movies. Like you're talking about what Toy Story, Cars, like so many other films that they were the gold standard. Like they would be the person everyone had to look up to. And now we're at a point where they're so far down, they're so down bad that Universal has come from the ashes and just absolutely completely lapped them at this point. And people are starting to ask the question now: is the Disney brand tainted? Is it broken beyond repair at this point? We all know last year they decided that, hey, we're going to go to war with Ron DeSantis because we want to propose LGBTQ propaganda to children. It didn't exactly work out very well for him then. They had numerous stock issues. And then all of a sudden, at the end of last year, Disney just started running out of money very, very rapidly here. And they're not making up that difference in the movie theaters. They've had multiple bombs here over the course of the last year. We talked about films like, what was it? Amsterdam was a bomb. Lightyear was a bomb. Strange World was a bomb. The Little Mermaid was a bomb. This film was a bomb. Ant-Man 3 was a bomb. Like, if it wasn't for Avatar being a smash hit overseas, like, they would be in a world of hurt right now. It doesn't look like their pain's going to end anytime soon. But
or even the success of Avatar is not enough, or they own Chinese box office. If it went over there, Chinese box office claims like 90% of it.
yeah, like they actually get way less money in China. So being a big hit over there means absolutely nothing because you're not even getting that money back. But according to the numbers, this film grossed nearly $30 million domestically and another $15 million internationally. Or absolutely catastrophic opening of $44.5 million. Keep in mind, I believe the production budget of this was about $250 because they were expecting this to be a big hit. So $44 million is not even remotely close to making up their money, as this film's going to die on the vine over the next few weeks. The film was originally predicted to have an opening between $28 and $39 million back in May. But of course, those numbers went down. The film will gross between 31 and 41 million. Then, like I said, I think Variety here said that the film will gross about $35 million in its opening weekend. That number just tumbled and tumbled and tumbled. And that seems to be the trend here. When they say that, well, we expect the movie to open like this, you could probably expect it to be at least $25 million less than what they're actually projecting the week of. And that's kind of a sad reality here. But Pixar has been gone through a rough time. Onward, which is the movie that came out in 2020, grossed a horrific amount. But then, of course, that resulted in a lot of the theaters shutting down. So at least they kind of had an excuse there. But they're just not picking up the pace here with a lot of these films. I think Turning Red was another one, which was a massive bomb. If you look back at like films like The Good Dinosaur, had $39 million in 2015. That was before all this happened. So keep in mind, when you adjust with inflation and the actual amount of ticket sales, this film is actually doing far worse than any of these films here that we're talking about. So they're probably looking at somewhere, when this is all said and done, a loss between about 100 and 150 million dollars, maybe even more, when they start fudging the numbers and doing some accounting math here. But Disney is not the brand that it was a few years ago, and they've done more damage in the last calendar year to their reputation. And we're getting to the point now we have to start asking the question legitimately, like, can they recover, or is the damage has been too severe for Disney at this point? I'll start with Orange Hat. What do you think about this whole thing with Disney once again throwing out another 9-figure flop at the box office?
Well, here's the thing. I love what you said earlier. It's like people are now starting to ask, is Disney tainted? To basically be blunt, Disney's been tainted since even before 2016 when they started pushing all the shit. Yeah,
Disney's probably been tainted for a while. Ever since Walt died. I mean, we can pretty much quote there, be like, yeah, that was pretty much the beginning.
But at least back then, even after Walt's death, there was still some originality and some and they were leaving the kids alone for the most part. But there was still the skeletons in the closet. However, all these flops, not to mention, remember, Disney went under an SEC investigation.
Yeah.
Along with the Internal Revenue Service even freaking audited them a couple times. And they found that, well, you guys are a few billion in the hole. You spent lavishly, money that you didn't have. You didn't make it back. You're not making it back. So it's like, you guys really want to keep banking on this? Now even your Marvel movies and Pixar, you fucking abuse that to the no end. That or just another thing of George Lucas's that you fucking ruined. So congratulations on that. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize that George Lucas created Pixar and sold it to Disney.
But not only that, just to keep Lucasfilm in the conversation here, next week I believe is when Indiana Jones comes out, and that one's looking to be yet another $100 million plus box office loss for Disney, which will make it 7 in the last calendar year. And we're probably with that film, you're probably looking at maybe $200-300 million loss after all the reshoots and marketing and stuff like that. Like, these are massive losses. It's like, you know, it used to be once upon a time having this many box office bombs in 1 year could kill a studio entirely. And there's somehow Disney has suffered almost double-digit 9-figure losses in a whole year, which is absolutely insane to think about. But here we are. Cider, what's your thoughts on Disney's downfall here?
Well, I've been doing a bit of research on why this is happening. Why entertainment in general has been like bending so hard into this. Now, as we know, we got DEI, we've got ESG, we've got all these different directives that are going around. I didn't know that it's actually a federal law to abide by ESG. Our friends at BlackRock purchased a few senators a couple of years ago, and it is now a legal requirement to obey ESG guidelines. You have to receive a 6 or more on your ESG score, your public ESG score that the World Bank manages. So, and you can be sued for those violations by your home government. So it doesn't even have to be a person. If the government thinks you're not living up to it, you can get sued. So that's why they're bending into this. People you wouldn't like, Elon Musk, just having to give in and say these things and hire these people that are wholly and entirely unqualified for what they're doing. And the other thing about this is why the entertainment's bending toward adult stuff is because there's a lack of children in the world. If you haven't noticed, the world's depopulating. And so the market is not able to sell to kids anymore. There's not that many kids. So you have to bend back toward adults. But the problem is Pixar, since its inception, has been all about children. And you can't just break neck into a bunch of like hardline edgelord underworld stuff after you've done Toy Story for 30 freaking years. So this is what the problem is they're trying to tell adult stories in a children's medium. They're trying to do anime, basically. But the trouble is anime is transcendent. It's not about children. It's about the story in it. So you can have a children's story with a really, really cool Miyazaki-style art, really well-done animation style. Or you can have something that's very adult, like Shin-Chan, that's just like frame for frame a doodle on a napkin. So they don't get that, though. But that's where we're at.
And Dope Fett here in the chat actually brought up a very good point. It's like Disney screwed. Only the theme parks are propping it up right now. And you just mentioned that, they're not really marketing this stuff to kids anymore. Even Disneyland. I mean, Cassie, how many times have I mocked people like Alexa Bliss for being like 30 years old and still being like excited to go to Disney World because they're the only ones willing to spend $200 to go to a park where they spend like $200 a piece on those little like makeshift Disney ears that they just waste all their entire money on. Like, wasn't your boy Johnny Gargano and his wife, keep in mind, before they had the kid, when he won the NXT title, he went to Disney World. These are two 30-year-old adults who
this is why Tommaso Ciampa was always better. I mean, he's always injured, but he's still my favorite because he actually at least had a kid before attending Disney World. Okay, so I can at least understand that. But yes, Johnny Gargano is a man-child.
I mean, his neck may be held together with spit and dreams, but at least he didn't go to Disney World as a 35-year-old man. So,
I mean, I can already see, they're already pivoting towards Toy Story 5. And it's like, at this point, look, I think I have an unpopular opinion here where I actually enjoyed Toy Story 4. I thought it was actually pretty damn good. But am I really going to go out of my way to see a fifth one? I feel like at some point, things are gonna, like, at some point you're going to lose me. That is just how it always works. The fact that I enjoyed 4, it while I know a lot of people in my circle kind of just said, I feel as though if I go to see the fifth one, it's likely going to be like a bad experience because that's just the way everything's going. But I think that's what they're leaning on now. It's like they're going to lean on their crutch, and that's where they're going with that. And to that, well, they're going to spoil Toy Story because they just can't let a good thing go and be what it is. They have to milk it until they inevitably rot it to its core. So it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, keep in mind they just flopped with Lightyear last year, not even a year ago. Had a $200 million production budget on that one, and only made about 200 something. Barely made back its production budget back, so it was a massive loss. And they think that okay, well, we flopped with this one, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna pay Tim Allen and Tom Hanks an ungodly amount of money to come back and do a fifth one, and that will bring everybody back. It's like, no, you've already blown their trust with Lightyear. Why would they turn around and trust you again in 3 years with another Toy Story movie?
That's the thing. Look at them. Now they're falling in line. Basically, what they should have done in the first place with Lightyear was cast Tim Allen, obviously. That was the immediate thing that made me say, yeah, I'm not giving this the time of day. Just everything else on top of it all made the decision to not see Lightyear so easy. But just the fact that you said no to Tim Allen, and we know why. Tim Allen is not a left-leaning individual. And they clearly put politics before anything else. And that was a huge bomb in their face. And they deserve it. But now look at them falling in line. They're like, we're going to do everything that you want, that you want us to do. Because they're desperate.
So, by the way, just a little breaking news here. I guess we want to prop this one up here. Let me put this on the screen. This one just broke from Variety. Disney's chief diversity officer, Latondra Newton, has exited the company. And a move that is totally nothing to do with any kind of like layoffs or any kind of, financial situation going on at Disney right now, because they keep losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Her role as the head of diversity and inclusion operations at Disney, Newton was charged with overseeing the company's commitment to produce entertainment that reflects a global audience and sustains a welcoming and inclusive workplace for everyone. So maybe, I don't know, maybe she was involved with hiring some of the people who were voted against Bob Chapek and probably put Disney in this position in the first place. But of course, they're making it seem like, oh, well, no, it was a new mutual decision. And now she's going to spend more time on her own self-owned creative company, which is totally something you do when you're working for Disney. Be like, you know what? I'm going to step down and work on my own side gig, because otherwise I'm working for this multi-billion-dollar global corporation. So yeah, things are going very, very well for the House of Mouse right now.
Wasn't she the one that got caught in their Zoom meeting admitting that they were going after kids with their...
No, that was a completely different person who I believe is still there right now.
Look,
so.
Well, I need to get rid of that one too.
I have to remain consistent. I believe that these, diversity and inclusion officers, these aren't even jobs to begin with. These are people just given these, positions that don't really have any merit at all. These decisions are coming from the top. They're coming from the suits and ties. That is the people, and she is now a fall woman. And it goes to show that these are not real jobs. They're very much expendable. And that's why, well, she's being put, with this giant weight and being sent out the door.
Yeah, I feel like all of these diversity and inclusion jobs that they've created over the last few years, just call it what it is. It's the white people police. You're there to make sure that you don't have any too many white people in your company and that you don't market to too many white people. That's really all it is. But they don't want to come out and say it. So saying you're a diversity officer sounds a lot more official than, BS police. But that's what Disney has decided. I mean, look, no one can feel bad for him at this point. What happened?
I got a meme for this.
Oh boy, what is this?
So this is what Mexican girls look like in Mexican cartoons, and this is
Yeah.
what Mexican girls look like in Disney cartoons, right?
Oof.
And they wonder
Oh, dear
why. You wonder
God.
why their diversity inclusion stuff isn't working. Why they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars, and why these people are supposedly just saying, "I'm going to go over to Miller Lite and make that good shit kind of beer." That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave Disney and go to Miller Lite and make good shit beer with women. You know, and
The
but
hillbilly wouldn't
that's what
even
you're
touch
looking
that.
at. This Disney. This is what Disney is on the right here. That's Disney Corporation's Oye Estimos or something. I don't know. I'm not Latinx.
Well, to
It was
quick
their
little
latest
side rant.
attempt at a Disney, at a children's cartoon. It was basically Proud Family, Loud
Mhm.
House for Latinx.
Okay, quick little side rant here. Why did animation just become so awful in the last like 5 to 10 years? It's like I can look back at like Hanna-Barbera cartoons from like the 60s that still hold up very well in terms of this animation and what they had to deal with to actually make those cartoons back then. And I'm looking at this, is like, who draws this? Like, look, I know I'm not a big Hollywood executive here, but I would have to figure that someone would have to draw a picture of this and hand it to like a big shot studio executive who would have to look at this and somehow be like, "Yep, okay, green light." Like, how does this even, like, if somebody handed me this, I'll be like, "Are you kidding me right now? Like, where's the real picture?" Because someone's
So
about to get
there's
I'd
fired.
fire the person that gave me a fucking unibrow missing tooth fucking retard for a
Mhm.
Latino character. I'd
Go ahead,
fire them.
sir.
So there's two pieces to this one. Is that one, that law I told you about, that diversity inclusion thing? If you get
Mhm.
caught being uninclusive, you get sued. You, the person, can get sued, and your company can get fined for
Well,
abuses. So the other part is what do you mean? You wanna give children this unrealistic standard of beauty? Why do you want to make kids all like thin and impossibly so and super attractive? What's
Mhm.
wrong with you? And then so there's the two-pronged problem here. So that's why you end up with that mess on the right versus the stuff that's popular here on the left. Where am I pointing? Right here on the left. So
that ESG law, if I ever had a business and they tried coming after me with that, I'd sue or I'd countersue into oblivion for violation of constitutional rights.
well, that's what
Here's
that
the problem. You're dealing with the government. And what is a government? A business that, well, if they run out of money, they'll just get it from, basically siphon it from its people. That's the problem with government inherently. This is
FDR didn't.
why,
He
Oh,
just came and
good.
took
I'll
your gold that
freaking
didn't belong
siphon
to
it
your
too from them, I
relatives.
guess, then, because
yep.
Don't
the
forget
thing
throwing
is,
Asian people in concentration camps.
That
this
was his
diversity,
favorite thing.
equity, and inclusion shit is a violation of civil rights. You're telling me that I have to violate other people's civil rights in order to run my business. I run my business how I would or how I want to run my business. If people would actually sue the government for the ESG Act, then that ESG Act would actually be lifted.
Well, here's the other problem too. It's like, I understand that all these mega corporations are now having to deal with this whole thing, with the government basically going over their head saying that you have to do this. But let's be honest here. A lot of these corporations went along with it. Like, a lot of these corporations years ago pushed this stuff into being law in the first place. They went and supported every little piece of diversity and inclusion riders and all this stuff. And now they're realizing that all of this stuff that they themselves promoted are having extremely negative effect on their business model, but they still can't come out and say, okay, you know what, this was a mistake, let's go back to what we're doing before because this isn't working anymore. Because by their own standards, there'll be an there'll be a phobe, there'll be whatever
Exactly.
insert group here that you want to say that you're offending, because this is the platform that you guys created and now you have to reap what you sow. So I mean,
Hey,
kind of hard to feel bad for you.
the thing that I wanted to point out with that meme was just that people. This is how the girls on the right from that Disney show. That's what the people that are raging at us about being racist and hateful are telling us
Yeah.
is representative of Latino children.
Mhm.
And then the stuff that's on the left that looks appeasing and nice, fun to look at, and might have a cool story, is being told that's racist and divisionary. So just remember that, okay?
Yep.
That's all.
If I may address Boba Fett's Kathleen Kennedy comment, the day they removed Kathleen Kennedy, and the day I believe them that they removed Kathleen Kennedy, is the day that they actually freaking reported. All this freaking hoopla over the last few years, I've said the same thing consistently. I'm waiting for an official statement from Disney because they're not going to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah. Like, I think I was having a conversation today with someone who has a pretty strong backing in the entertainment business, and essentially what they were saying is like, yeah, not only is Kathleen Kennedy pretty much untouchable with Disney at the moment, but her husband also is a very, very big shot in the industry as
Frank
well,
Marshall.
which I think is another thing that works in their favor. And look, like I said, if this Indiana Jones movie loses another 100 million, 200 million, 300 million dollars, which it possibly could do, I mean, I don't know how you continue to justify it unless there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. Like, I've made the joke for weeks now. She has to have Polaroid somewhere in the safe. And that's the only reason why she's still around right now, because nothing else, there's no quality that she's producing that justifies her having a job. So is it blackmail? Is it something behind the scenes going on that we don't know about? Why they can't get rid of her?
It's the blackmail that she was in, or that she had to be one of the sexy dancers from Temple of Doom. She's like, I'll sue you all for frickin' sexual harassment because you told me that I had no choice but to do that, or else I would be fired, or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
good luck with that one.
It's like, the one thing that I will take as a small victory, though, was what Stephen King did to her recently. Or not Stephen King, but Steven Spielberg.
Oh, yeah.
Sniped her live on the fucking stage in front of millions.
Well, hey, maybe that's a signal of things to come. Maybe they're losing so much money now that even the people who were considered bulletproof a few years ago may not be in strong position as they were before, because they got to stop the bleeding at some point.
Oh, the pendulum is turning, or the pendulum is actually on its swing back, because, or the turn towards better things is actually starting, because if you have noticed, people are starting to wake up to this shit. Not just us, but our viewers and their followers and otherwise. It actually is starting. Unfortunately, it's going to take a while, but it is starting, and that is great.
Yeah. Quick little last note on Disney before I move on to our next story. I think we were talking about this in Discord or Gilded, one of those two. I can't remember whose chat we were talking about this with, but the show Bunked, which is actually a show that I kind of liked for the first couple of seasons. And this is someone who hasn't watched like a Disney show in like 20 years, but I was like, I watched the show and I was like, I like it for, whatever its target audience was. I guess in this last season, they decided that they were going to base the entire new series on introducing multiple gay couples into the Disney Channel show, which didn't exactly go over very well. And the show got renewed for a 7th season, so that's the good news. The bad news is absolutely nobody is watching the show, because even like this happened like 3 months ago, and you ever know like the backlash is like usually pretty swift on things like that. Like that show was so poorly watched, no one even knew it happened. It just kind of like went by the breeze. But yeah, there's another Disney related show that got tainted due to the ESG. So I don't know. I could say Disney, you get what you effing deserve. They say in the Joker movie, which is a very good movie. Go
also, Disney Plus is releasing Secret Invasion, I think, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody even said they were excited about it.
Well, hold on to that thought, because we will address some of the comments that were made regarding that show coming up here. But we're going to hop over now to another a funny little story here of Demi Lovato. Now, in a lot of ways, I feel bad for Demi Lovato, because this is clearly someone who's been completely tortured by the Hollywood system. I think she admitted a few years ago that when she was on the Disney Channel show, that she was raped by someone who still is named anonymous, but we can only assume was probably a producer of a co-star of some point. So this is someone who's clearly dealing with childhood trauma up and down. And well, the effect hasn't been very well on her. She a few years ago almost died of a heroin overdose that almost took her life. And ever since then, mentally, she hasn't exactly been in the right place. But fairly recently, she came out as a non-binary person and wanted to go to they, them pronouns. Well, now she's saying that she's not doing that anymore, because apparently it was too exhausting even for her to explain the whole they them concept. This is the thing that infuriates me, especially when we talk about people like Ezra Miller, how we have to refer to him as a they or a them. You read like a story and they keep saying like they, like it's in the third person, or you're talking about multiple people, and it makes reading some of these articles absolutely infuriating. So I can understand what she went through, because yeah, I got sick and tired of reading this crap. I can only imagine if you tried to live that life. So this one actually came to us from Nerdigan. So believe it or not, she actually does submit articles every now and then. So enjoy it while you can. But 2 years after publicly claiming to be non-binary, the former Disney star, multiple award-winning pop artist and activist Demi Lovato, now she's ditching the use of the they them pronouns to refer to her as herself. So she's going back to, the she her pronouns like a normal person. She did an interview with GQ here and revealed that the reason for her sudden identity and pronoun change was because she was sick and tired of educating people on why she claimed to be non-binary and why she used they and them pronouns. Here's what she had to say. I would constantly have to educate people and explain why I identify with those pronouns. She said it was absolutely exhausting. I just got tired, but for that very reason, I know it is important to continue spreading the word. So she got sick and tired of basically telling everyone like why she was a they, even though she's clearly one person. I can only imagine how exhausting that conversation would be. But she says that she's frustrated about the lack of open discussions about gender-neutral spaces, such as sex-assigned bathrooms. She said, I face this every day. For example, in public toilets, having access to the women's bathroom, even though I don't completely identify with it. I can imagine. Lovato theorized that this could be due to condition to select women on government documents because there's no other options. So she's upset that she has to identify as a woman with the government. It says, or it happens when you fill out forms such as government documents and where you have to specify your gender. She acknowledged you only have two options, male or female. I wonder why there's only two options. I feel like I feel like none of that makes sense to me. Yeah, I think that this has to change. Hopefully, with time, there'll be more options. Hopefully not. I think we need to go back to having fewer options. But yeah, I mean, this goes pretty much to say what I was talking about earlier. She suffered through depression, addiction, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, rape trauma, eating disorders. I mean, this is not someone who's in the best mindset mentally, but it seems to be a lot of these people in these communities have the exact same story being told, but we're just supposed to buy into it. It's like, oh, this is all normal. All these people who are just like me and you, they don't need any help. They just need you to stop being a bigot so they can live their lives. Cassie, I'm going to start off with you. What do you think about Demi Lovato essentially giving up on being non-binary because it was even too confusing for her to deal with?
Well, I have a few thoughts, generally speaking. First off, I don't think it's necessarily it got exhausting for her. I think it was more so the embarrassment of probably the response to her bullshit at the end of the day, because still the mass majority of people think that these, they, them pronouns are absolutely ridiculous. At the end of the day, people just want to simplify things to go about their day. They don't give a fuck about how you identify as. You are what you are, or what you put yourself off to be. Have I personally been misgendered before as a boy? Yes, it happens sometimes. Do I make a big deal out of it? Fuck no. It is what it is. I'm a tomboy. I choose to, at times, wear clothing that is meant for men or baggy clothes in general. And guess what? Occasionally, some people say, sir. And you know what? Am I going to make a big deal out of it? Do I even correct them? No, because at the end of the day, I just want my fucking latte, or I want to, just do what I need to do and get what I need to get. As long as you go out of your way to respect me and respect my request of what I need when I'm online. I don't care if you fucking misgender me. I'm never going to fucking see you again. So, like, on that front, it's just absolutely, like, it's so self-centered to think that you're so important that everyone must know your they them pronouns. Like, it's just a lot of narcissism here. There is power in this whole language, but in the end, it was just probably obnoxious. Not just to discuss, but probably the response that she would get if she were to bring it up. But what really bothers me the absolute most about this whole scenario is someone who has said they are a victim of sexual assault. What disgusts me the most is someone like her who probably does indeed deal with trauma like that, going the opposite route of making women who have been traumatized by sexual assault doing essentially endorsing the opposite, which is allowing biological men to enter women's spaces, particularly bathrooms. Do you know how that could actually bother a woman who has experienced sexual assault? Like that, if a
Or
dude
simply has a kid.
First off, I haven't been in a situation where a man has walked into a woman's bathroom. But first off, if I were to encounter that situation, I'm going to take note of where I have my firearm. Okay, straight up. I'm going to feel highly concerned if a man walks into the women's restroom and they are serious about that shit. All right, so you're not going to catch me in a situation like now. If it's an accident, sometimes there's been a situation where I accidentally walked into the men's bathroom. It has happened.
Okay, I was going to say, like, watch out, fellas. Cassie's going to fucking drop you if you get mixed up on the signs when you're drunk or something. She's going to be like, predator!
So anyway, I started blasting.
There's always accidents. That's completely acceptable. There's zero intent.
After eating a cheeseburger, and I'm like, oh man, was the dress one the one for dudes? Is this the kilt place? Oh, or up here in Maine, they have like buck and doe, and I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't hunt. Christ, what is this? So you have to look at the antlers, and I don't know. So I walk into the women's room, and they're like, you're really high right now. You're drunk. What's going on? Are you lost? They take it really nice, but Cassie, she's gonna be like, hey, you're lost, pal. You're really lost.
Wrong fucking restroom.
Let me send you home.
But like that's
walking
honestly
to the bathroom doing like some rootin' tootin' gun shooting.
Like, my
like
father is from the early 1900s, right? My father was born in 1929. Okay, he had the worst habit. My father was born in 1929. He had the worst habit of having his dick out before he got to the urinal, okay? I don't know what went on back then, but those fellas walked into the bathroom primed, okay? They apparently had competitions of pissing across the room or something. So when he did that, he'd go into the women's room with his hand, like, undoing his pants, and he'd look up, wrong room. I'd hear him go, whoa, wrong room! And he'd come back out of there,
Yeah, he definitely would have gotten capped in it.
Yeah. Damn right, motherfucker.
This Demi Lovato thing, there has to be a little bit of a clarification here. She didn't fully go back. She actually embraces both sets of pronouns, the she, her, and the they, them. Apparently, because
what is the point then?
Well, she prefers to herself that she's the they, them, but she accepts if people are going to misgender her. But as for her very traumatic past, I think we should all take a look at all of these they, thems, and whatnot to see if there is a parallel there. Because if there is, this isn't a new they, them kind of gender thing. This is a dissociative disorder that needs a shitload of therapy. Because if you're going to say, I'm not even myself anymore because of the evils that have been visited upon me, and believe me, what happened to her with all of that shit is indeed very evil. If her coping mechanism was to dissociate herself from her own gender so that people wouldn't see her as desirable, what if that is literally the latest coping mechanism? It might bear looking at. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trauma that seems to coincide with a lot of these new ideological thought processes that are being spread across, I guess, TikTok and on other social media platforms. So that's definitely something worth looking into. I mean, we're just
it's almost
literally
as if there's an elephant in the room, right?
Yes, indeed. But the problem is, once again, we discussed this a little bit last week. The problem is that what's being addressed is people that aren't dealing with the issues. We're supposed to accept that bunch of people who are dealing with some form of mental issue, we're being forced to take on their ways of coping with life, their issues. We're supposed to change the a normal average everyday person's lifestyle because we refuse to address the problem. That is the consistent issue.
That ain't
Rick,
the
what do you
way
think
the
about
real
this whole
world
thing?
works. Hey!
What a
Hey, everyone.
howdy.
I said, what do you think about this whole thing?
I'm old school in that I think they is plural. So whenever I hear someone refer to him or herself as a they, I think is this like the royal we, where I'm supposed to believe that you're, you know, grand and important. Look, I wish Demi Lovato all the best. I wish her, I'll say her because I can now say her. I wish her the best of mental health, the best in her career, but it's still a struggle for me to refer to any individual as a they them. I don't know how this came about. I really don't know how people decided that no, there's no longer male or female. There's all sorts of different varieties. I don't know when this trend happened, and I'm not quite on board with calling anyone, any individual, a they them or a they she. Why is someone a they she? I mean, or a she they or a he they or a
Ask
he.
Ellen Page.
It's almost as if we made the world under a very certain simple idea that there were men and women, and then certain people just came along and be like, yeah, I don't like this system, I want to rebel against this, so now we're going to make as many genders as we can and make it as confusing as possible for everyone.
I'm starting to think that schizophrenia is on a way wider margin of of mental health issues than it's previously been thought to be.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't refer to someone, an individual, as a they, because I still say it's just one person. It's not two. Cider, yes.
I just wanted to ask: Did you guys see that Jamil or the woman from
Yeah,
She
she
Hulk?
got fired from fucking
Well,
Spotify.
well, no,
To be
she said
fair,
that.
no, we're talking about the one from She-Hulk, right?
Yeah, the lady from She Hulk,
Yeah.
Oh.
the ditzy one. She said that the Oscars or whatever the Oscars should have a they them category so that women don't get completely forced out of the award ceremony because it's
Mhm.
occurring to them now that these women identifiers, if you will, are going to start sweeping the categories because, as you know, as all third wave feminists will tell you, everything's a boys' club if there's a boy involved.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that chick, like she is just a mess of a person. Like that's another one I just feel bad for. Like it's gotten to a point where I'm not even angry at a lot of these people because they're just so screwed up in the head. It's just like I just have to feel bad for you at a certain point in time, and she's
It's like
one of
seeing a
them.
kid get the kid. It's like seeing a kid being taken advantage of like this. They didn't know. They're
Yeah.
like deer in the headlights.
Yeah, and she's another one who's just like, it's just one of these people where it's like, I mean, look, you created this problem, you advocated for this problem, and now it backfired. So instead of admitting that, hey, you know what, maybe we were wrong with this whole thing, or maybe it's gone a little too far, they can't admit that the problem is a problem. They gotta be like, okay, well, maybe we should just have like a third category, so that way I don't get completely phased out of this thing when the Emmys come out for She-Hulk and I don't get nominated, and that's probably the only real reason why that show didn't get nominated because of non-binary people, not because it sucked and it was terrible and it was the worst show in television history. But that's a story for another day. Yeah, same thing we were saying before. At some point mentally, these people know that they're in the wrong, but they'll never publicly admit it because they have invested way too much to go back now, and that's kind of the sad part of where we're at here at the moment. So, any final thoughts on this story before we jump over to our next one? None at all. Well, hey, Rick, you're here, so let's hop over to some baseball. Now, there's a
All
couple of
right.
baseball stories coming out here. This one, I just wanted to take a couple minutes and trash the entire city of Oakland now because Oakland has gone through quite a rough period of time. One, it's not a very nice place to live. It's always had a reputation of being the bad part of the Bay Area for a multitude of reasons. Now you just have like people taking over to the streets doing like, I don't know, wheelies in the streets. The cops can't do anything, and if you dare drive a car in Oakland, it's probably going to get stolen or something's going to get broken into there. So not a very safe place to go. And because of this, multiple major sports franchises in Oakland have left for other pastures. The Golden State Warriors, who used to play in Oakland until a couple of years ago, they've now moved over to San Francisco, so they're a San Francisco team now. The Oakland Raiders, who are in Oakland for a number of years, won a few Super Bowls in Oakland as well. They've now moved to Las Vegas. And another sports franchise that has moved to Las Vegas is the A's. The Oakland A's have finalized a deal to build a stadium in Las Vegas. I believe it's going to be finished in 2026. So they're in their last few years of being the Oakland A's. They're going to be leaving town pretty soon here. But for first story here is like it was a very weird reaction. A lot of celebrities are apparently upset that that the A's are leaving Oakland, and Tom Hanks happens to be one of them. Tom Hanks blast the Oakland A's for moving to damn them all to hell.
Didn't he literally abandon America?
Yeah.
for very questionable reasons, which we can't get to on YouTube because they don't allow us to talk about stuff like that. But yeah, I don't even know why this is a big deal for him. But he did an interview. This is from like a Fox News report here. It says that Hollywood star Tom Hanks recently vented his anger about the Oakland Athletics moving to Las Vegas. He says, "We've lost the Raiders, the Warriors moved to San Francisco, and now they're going to take the A's out of Oakland. Damn, they're all to hell," he said at a recent event. It remains unclear which or where event this was taking place, but clearly he was very, very upset. Hanks is apparently called A's fans some of the greatest fans in baseball. And then he also, there was a second part here. Oh, I think they might have taken that one out. I have to go back and find that one here. But yeah, he was one of the stars here that was upset about this. Rebecca Black, for some weird reason. Like, remember when she was like a thing like 15 years ago for that terrible song? Like apparently she's like a witch now or something like that. But she
Jesus, her too?
Many such cases.
Yeah. We'll
You know,
find
I
some
think
recent
that a
pictures of her.
lot of these women are just like super high or drunk as hell and accidentally putting the W where a B should be. Because there certainly are a bunch of bitches. Now, witches, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to start building piers.
Hey, might as well. But yeah, even she came out recently against the A's moving away from Oakland, which, I mean, look, all I can say is maybe you should be in a better city. Maybe you shouldn't have let the Bay Area completely fall to a complete shithole that nobody wants to play in anymore. Maybe that was the problem. But we'll start with this story here first. I'm going to start with Rick because you're the baseball guy. What is your thoughts on Oakland moving to Las Vegas?
Hey, I'm thrilled that the A's are going to Las Vegas. When I went up to Colorado and I went to the Rockies game with Christian Toto, I was telling him about how to go to every ballpark. And I said, well, now the A's are moving to Las Vegas. And he said, yeah, you dodged a bullet, literally. So that's not, I mean, that's a pretty surprising comment coming from him. But why would I want to go to Oakland? What is in Oakland that people would want to go see? Other than the Warriors, the Raiders, and the A's, there's nothing there.
They're not even there anymore. Just the A's now.
Exactly. But when they were there, that was the draw. I guess people maybe commuted from Oakland to San Francisco for jobs, but what is in Oakland that people would want to go see? Other than maybe those community centers that King T'Challa put up, when he was reigning.
You mean the second that Wakanda got involved in the Oakland and matters got worse? They're just like the government.
Yeah. I'm thrilled. I'm just puzzled as to why Tom Hanks really cares all that much. I mean, does he? I'm sure he had great memories of his time when he worked there, but does he live in Oakland now? I don't think he does. Does he? Did he make an offer to maybe buy the team? Has he even funded maybe the idea of a AAA team? The Las Vegas Aviators are going to need a new home. Maybe Tom Hanks could fund their new stadium somewhere in Oakland, and they basically switch Las Vegas to Oakland, Oakland to Las Vegas. They could do that. He could fund them. I mean, Bill Murray has a team, I think, in Charleston, like a AA team. Why is he so up in arms? He has enough money. He has enough cash. He put up a or create a league or fund programs, but he doesn't. So sorry, Tom. I mean, everyone loves a
Hey,
league of their
hey,
own.
Tom Hanks, think about this. Maybe if you help improve the carjacking situation, you guys can keep your baseball team. So, ever thought about that as a possibility there, Tommy boy?
No, he doesn't. I don't know what he expects to what he expects people are going to do. This is not the fault of the fans. I'm going to say
Mhm.
that the Oakland A fans, they have no say in the matter. These are the owners. If Tom Hanks is trying to suggest that, oh, they're being greedy, well, maybe it's not so much greedy. Is that they're in a place where they're not going to be making a lot of money. I think there are other issues when it came to the building of a new stadium or repairing the old stadium because it's kind of
Yeah,
run
well,
down.
keep in mind this has always been a problem with California. If you guys are not aware of California politics, I mean, grew up in San Diego, I know this very, very well. This is why the Chargers left from San Diego to Los Angeles, is because in California, all the owners there, they're not as rich as they want you to believe. Like, this is kind of like the dirty little secret. So the only way that they can build a new stadium, these $2 billion stadiums that they want everyone to build, is that they have to have the taxpayers pay for it. And
Yep.
there's a reason why California is the most expensive state in the country to live in, because they've never seen a tax that they've never wanted to pass. So they've just been passing taxes over and over again. And people are like, what, now you want to tax us again for another $2 billion stadium? It's like, look, we already can barely afford to live here. We don't want to pay more taxes. So they won't front the bill for a stadium. So unless a multi-millionaire, billionaire owner comes in, buys a team, and builds his own stadium, the only option they have is to move somewhere else where they can get somebody else to build it. Apparently, Vegas has no problem with raising up their prices over there, so they're going to move to Vegas. That's pretty much all it is right now.
No, I mean Vegas has been very successful. They have the Golden War, what is it, the Golden Warriors, I mean, not Golden, the Golden Knights.
The
Sorry,
Golden State.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you mean like Vegas? Yeah,
yeah,
the
Vegas.
Golden
Yeah,
Knights.
I was getting muddled there. They have the Golden Knights. They have the Raiders now. They're going to have the A's. Las Vegas is determined to be a
And they're
major
probably
city.
going to have an NBA team in the next few years too, because they're building a second stadium out there called, was it the Spear? Like Madison Square Garden is building it, and they're building it specifically so they can entice an NBA team to go there too. So they're probably going to get another franchise
Mhm.
in the next couple of years as well.
And the issue that I see with Oakland and with California, and actually with El Paso, if I'm going to be blunt, and I love the Chihuahuas, but the ownership just finds it easier to pass on the bill to the taxpayers. A lot of times these stadiums, they always promise it's going to reinvigorate that area and it's always going to be, you're going to get more people to come. Yeah, I don't know if that's the case. A lot of these stadiums end up losing money for the city and they're kind of forced to take the tax burden. And think about it. You're asking the taxpayers who may not go to any of these baseball games or basketball games or football games, what have you, to fund a stadium that they're not going to use, they're not going to participate in. No, they're going to say
And
no.
this is why we were talking about earlier too, why the Las Vegas Raiders have the most expensive NFL tickets out of anyone in the league right now. It's not because the Raiders are good, because they still suck, but it's because they put so much money into building that stadium. They have to jack up the ticket prices high up to get any kind of money back for the stadium that they built. So that's why your average ticket price for a Raider game in a nosebleed seat is like $300.
Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, I might skip it, even though Gabe wants to go see the Raiders and the Packers play this year. I might not go because of the
Look,
finances.
stadium tour is only $50. That's all I have to say there. So there you go. I
But
know you, the rest of you guys here aren't exactly the biggest baseball fans. Do you have any thoughts of Oakland leaving the Vegas?
I'm not really surprised. Like Vegas is kind of more of a like, Vegas is uppity. Like I get that.
Mhm.
So on that basis, it's weird because I mean, in my lifetime, there's definitely been a lot of movement across like the NFL now, in baseball as well in MLB. So it's weird because it's like I'm never gonna remember because I used to be so involved in like baseball and football as a kid. We even had like a name change. I'm never gonna remember what the Redskins are now called. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not invested in football
Yeah.
as much as I used to be. So
Like I said, growing up Just real quick, growing up in San Diego, I'm used to the Raiders Chargers rivalry. It was always Oakland and San Diego every time. People would get into fights, people would get stabbed in the parking lot. That's how hot the rivalry used to be when it was Oakland and San Diego. Now it's LA and Las Vegas. So you completely removed both cities that had the big rivalry, and you giving them the two cities that could care less about the rivalry whatsoever. So
Yeah. I mean, I guess less stabbings. Not that any of these states give a fuck, you know.
But by
If
the
you,
way,
if
this
you
is
want,
what Rebecca Black looks like now.
oh my
So,
gosh,
yeah.
she, it was a bad Friday for her.
Oh
No, yeah.
shit!
If
Well, why is she on taking a picture on a toilet?
if you want stabbings, you could still go to the Dodgers.
Too much drugs, you could tell.
Oh yeah, too much drugs and too much witchcraft with that lady. But so there's a second story that I wanted to get to here that's also baseball related, and it's about all of these Pride nights because apparently teams are getting very, very sick and tired having to deal with the backlash of these Pride nights going around the league. Yet the big story here with LA, the Dodgers invited some extremely anti-Christian, anti-Catholic group to be honored at their Pride night game about a week ago. There was a big Catholic backlash, and surprisingly enough, a lot of Hispanics in LA were not very happy about this. Thousands even came out to protest, and people are noticing that there's been a big backlash with a lot of these Pride theme events. Now, the only team in the Major League Baseball who has refused to host a Pride night is the Texas Rangers, and they're the only ones who are still refusing to honor them. Out of 30 teams in the league, they're the only ones standing up to this. But the commissioner now is trying to discourage teams for displaying the Pride logo because they're realizing that, hey, look, pushing this Pride stuff in a lot of people's face is starting to have a lot more backlash than it did years before. I think people have really caught up to the con that this entire LGBTQ movement is now, especially now that it's aiming specifically towards children. People are pushing back on it now more than ever. So Major League Baseball is like, hey, you know what? Maybe let's not do the Pride logos this time around because we're actually starting to get into a little bit of trouble here. So Commissioner, I want to call him Commissioner Dipshit, but I'll call him Commissioner Rob Manfred, gave the league the green light to press hold on Pride nights. However, for those franchises wanting to wear the Pride theme uniforms, he said he doesn't think it's such a great idea. June has been the month of all the Pride nights. Like I said, 29 out of the 30 teams at least have one celebration a year. So, but like I said, it's pretty clear now that the league is going to continue this policy of leaving Pride Night decisions up to the teams rather than making them mandated throughout the entire league or whatnot. But he also said that he wants the Pride Night celebrations to be held in a way that protects players because, as we saw last year with some of the Tampa Bay Rays players who refused to wear the Pride patches and jerseys and whatnot, what happened was that the liberal sports media attacked all these people, demanded that they had to wear the patch, they had to show solidarity. You're not allowed to abstain from these Pride Night celebrations, according to people on ESPN and Fox Sports and all this stuff. And the players are starting to get sick of this stuff too. Like, don't be twisted. The players know just as much as everyone else does. They don't want to be a part of this. They don't want to be completely anti-LGBTQ, but they don't want to be forced into it as well. And it seems like now that a lot of these players are being forced into this. This was a big sticking point in hockey as well, where a lot of international players refused to wear the rainbow colors here, and now you have players for like the Dodgers, the the Toronto Blue Jays just released a player because he condemned the LGBTQ movement. Like I said, people are just getting sick and tired of being put in positions where they feel like they have to support this and they clearly don't. So I'm gonna actually start this one off with Johnson, who's here now, finally only an hour into the show, totally on time. How you doing, Johnson?
Well, I believe that you should have the choice to support degeneracy or not. So
what you're saying is that you won't be taking your kids to a Pride night at the Braves game anytime soon.
no. So no, we were on vacation and we saw a lot of churches in the city areas with that had the pride flags up. And my kids are young. They, contrary to what any progressive will tell you, children don't actually know about sex. Okay, at a certain age, they don't want to even talk about it. We're learning about like plant fertilization in science, and we're homeschooling now. And they don't even like it when I talk about the female part of the flower and the male part of the flower. So
Yeah.
kids have a natural version to this stuff, and it's gross and disgusting. So go ahead, cancel me. I don't care.
Well, how about this person right here, Rick, who just got his little scarf from the Pride Night at the minor leagues there. So, what do you think about that?
Well, it's it was the soccer team, and yeah, I still have it. Do you want me to wear it? I don't mind.
I thought you already had it ready. That's why I went to you. It was like a layup. You
Oh,
already screwed it up.
well, you know me. I'm 5'7", so I'm not gonna play basketball well.
I had a guy 5'7", like 5'5", and good shoes.
Well, first, it is the individual team's right to host or not host a Pride Night. I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other if you want to have a Pride Night, but I don't want to tell any team that you have to have it or else. Or else what? It's their decision, and not concerned, but the issue with the Dodgers is what was more interesting to me. They should, if they wanted to, they've made a mess. Let me put it that way. They've made a mess about the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. That's a group that was dressing up like nuns and mocking and ridiculing Catholics in particular. They should not have been invited if they had bothered to do the research and figured out that this group was a little too much, even for some gay people that I know, and they think that they're over the top.
But here's the thing with giving them the benefit of the doubt. Did they not know, or did they know exactly who they were, and that's why they invited them in the first place?
Well, that's where you do the research, people, and you look them up. I mean, Google exists. Once they were invited and they got the pushback, the Dodgers panicked, and then they disinvited them. And that created another pushback from the gay community, and then they brought them back. So it was clear that they were just being wishy-washy, going one way and the other, constantly just responding to panic. If they had just stuck with their guns and said, we're keeping them, or stuck with their guns and said, we've decided that we're not inviting them after all, yes, it would have gotten opposition, but they would have ridden out the storm. The fact that they invited, disinvited, re-invited them only shows that they were spineless and cowardly. And worse, they put up Clayton Kershaw to kind of be their cover, because he's going to introduce Faith and Family Night, and we're going to talk about Christ. And Clayton Kershaw is selling out his reputation as this very devout Christian, because he's the same person, I think, who was cheering on the Black Lives Matter movement and saying specifically, oh, it's because I'm Christian that I've got to support Black Lives Matter, and I've got to support the end of systemic racism and all of this. And if you don't support it, you don't support Black Lives Matter, you're not a real Christian like I am. So Kershaw made a fool out of himself, and now it's just a wild coincidence that they're reintroducing this Faith and Family Night at the same time. With the Pride thing, again, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm not going to tell the Rangers, who are going to probably change their name pretty soon, because of course Rangers are oppressive. I'm not going to tell them you have to have a Pride Night. It's up to the teams. So long as it's up to the teams, Manfred or anyone else does not have the right to tell them you have to do this, you have to do that. Maybe the reason people are having such an issue with gay people now, after Ogergefell and after everything that the gay community at large has succeeded in, is because, to quote that old refrain, the love that dare not speak its name is now the love that won't shut up. They've just become so incessant and so loud and almost bullying that people are like, you know what? We just want to live our lives in peace. If you want to go and celebrate yourselves, great. But now you're demanding.
In other words, they're using the exact same argument that they were using years ago. Hey, we just want to be left alone. But now they're the ones that are being the pursuers here. A couple things just real quick. One, we have 16 people in the chat, but there's only 16 likes. So could you guys give us a little like just real quick as you're watching the stream? And secondly, this is something that I noticed what the Dodgers did too. Like, there's a lot of companies are doing this. Saw this with Bud Light. when they pander to the LGBTQ community and they get a crap ton of backlash, instead of coming out and saying that, hey, you know what, that wasn't exactly the best move or bad or anything like that, what they'll do is that they'll immediately try to pander to the people who are angry at them. So Bud Light did this by saying, hey guys, you don't like the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing? Well, here, we're gonna start having beer cans for the troops. You guys like the troops, like, don't you? And people see right through it. And then this is the same thing here with the Dodgers. They invited these people in here, and then all of a sudden, hey guys, but we're gonna have like a faith and family night here too. We just announced that just now, so don't be mad at us. Don't boycott the team, which means that if people hadn't gotten pissed off, you wouldn't have had a faith and family night to begin with. So it's so
wild
see-through.
coincidence. Wild coincidence that they're having their faith and family night. Yeah, I got the scarf.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a faith and family night right after this whole Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence fiasco, and they're trotting out Clayton Kershaw, a big name in the Dodgers organization, longtime Dodger and devout Christian. So So he says that he's doing it on his own and that he had a team meeting and talked about this. I'm dubious of all this. Ever
Well, it's
ever
good
since
they're having it after Pride Night so they can, cast out all the demons and, spread the holy water around some.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
You
going to
know
take
what?
a lot to take the demons out of Dodger Stadium. I'm just going to say that.
I think there's a basic level to look at this. If you are a corporation that's looking to get, a good chunk of society to like you, the first thing you probably shouldn't do is have a Pride Night featuring its that are deliberately vindictive. Like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, they're deliberately antagonistic towards people of religion. That is the goal of this. It's not, oh, we just want just to be treated with fairness, with kindness. No, this is, well, we're going to make fun of religion blatantly in front of you. And if you're like a company, you should probably work on being positive, being fair, not featuring very, very negative and malicious people.
Exactly.
I think that's the most important
Well-
thing that I see here. It's blatantly malicious towards people that are of faith. That is very much what that group represents. Very blatantly
here's
in
the
your
thing.
face.
It's like you can argue that this whole LGBTQ movement is put straight up an anti-religious movement. It's in its exception. So they tried to make it seem like
But
it was
there's
all
a
about tolerance and
difference.
exception.
And, and some people can see it that way, but there is well, we're just doing this and not deliberately being antagonistic versus clearly this, these people that are blatantly malicious and antagonistic. There's ways to go about things. Like, if I make a video, I choose whether I'm deliberately trying to be antagonistic and malicious. I make that conscious decision on how I want to pitch my video. Clearly, that group is trying to be antagonistic. It is deliberately trying to be malicious versus, like, people that are just, hey, flag, rainbow, like, we just want to support LG. There's clearly two different levels here, that we can establish what is, well, this is, we just want this, but this other side is, we want to beat down on the people we clearly are saying that we hate and have disdain for.
Exactly. I mean, there's a wide difference between bringing someone, let's say, like a Guy Benson, who is an openly gay conservative, and the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, who dress up as nuns, very exaggeratedly, and what is it? They do these dances around a figure that's supposed to represent Christ. For them, it doesn't matter. For them, they think it's amusing. But for other people who have faith and who take it seriously, they're deliberately mocking them and antagonizing them and like waving the red
It's
flag.
the people you were asking for tolerance for the last 20 years, and you turn around and do this, only justifying why they didn't want to give you that tolerance in the first place.
Tolerance goes both ways. Tolerance means exactly that you accept someone else even if they don't agree with you. Tolerance is not, you must accept what I do, and no matter how far I go, or you're evil for disagreeing with me. That is not tolerance. That is authoritarian. That is fascist. To decide that you have the right to impose things. People who are, I think every person, or more, I'm assuming that maybe every person here knows someone who is gay, either family member, friend. I certainly do, and I wish them all the best. I love them. It doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to me what they do. And none of them have demanded that I wave a rainbow flag or that I wear the pride scarf. It's always my choice, and it should be their choice not to participate. Again, the Rangers should not have to be forced to participate in anything. It's their choice, and the fact that they don't do it doesn't mean that they hate anyone any more than the baseball players who didn't participate or the hockey players who didn't participate in pride events. It doesn't mean that they hate them. It just means that, hey, this is not something that we believe in, but you do whatever you like. I am in no position to impose my views on you. You should not have any right to impose your views on me.
Cider, what do you think about this whole thing from an outsider's perspective?
Well, I'm not a sports guy, like
Yeah.
at all. All right. I don't like basketball. I know more about like the old dirt track racing NASCAR stuff than I do about anything going on today. But
Yeah.
what I can tell you is that people who dedicate their lives to these sports are not there simply because of the paycheck. You will have people who say that and behave like that. But the kind of abuse you have to put your body through, the sleepless nights, the time away from your family, the time you don't get to spend doing anything that you'd like to do, and instead you're stuck in front of cameras or around people that drive you nuts or people you would rather strangle, right?
Mhm.
So tag on to that now. Abandon your core beliefs just so you can make what, $100 million a year? At what
Yeah.
point does the money tip over into the fuck this section of your brain where it's just, and apparently we're rising to that point where like players are obviously pushing back and saying like, look at who are those hockey players that wouldn't wear the pride jerseys?
They play for the Tampa Bay Rays. I can pull up the story here, but it was basically the story from like a year ago where the
Yeah,
Tampa
yeah.
Bay Rays player didn't want to wear it. It was multiple players too.
So you can couple this with what happened with that Armenian street fight that happened last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take a look at this. You've got the players now saying, "Hey, man, we don't want to do this," and you got the Armenians saying, "You don't want to do this, bro. I'm Armenian. You don't want to do this."
Yeah.
And so that's where this is kind of like surfacing into what you're seeing happening. Is the players are pushing back now. The community is kind of getting the idea that like if you make noise, they have to reply. Up until now, we've been told if you make noise, you're violent, you're going to overthrow the government, you're dangerous, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking that like I'm the white pill guy. I'm the eternal optimist. So
Yeah.
I think that this is a good sign that corporations are going to have to start obeying the consumer again and taking the risk with these laws that I spoke about earlier. That like, okay, sue me for discouraging wearing pride flags and stuff like that when I know it discourages my profits. Sue me.
Yeah, we've clearly drawn the lines here with sports because like this whole movement is kind of like consumed the NFL and the NBA to the point where there's no real backlash against it anymore. But there is pushback against it when it comes to baseball and hockey, and we've seen that over the course of the last year. Like these players have gotten to the point now. It's like, look, you forced my hand to the point where I have to pick a side, and I'm not picking your side. So what are we gonna do here? Like how far are you guys willing to take this now? And I think these leagues are starting to push themselves to a corner where it's like, hey, look, if we start building like a big revolt, if the players start revolting, then the fans are going to start revolting. If the fans start revolting, we're going to lose a lot of money. And not the NBA, but the NHL and the Major League Baseball are two leagues that really can't afford to be losing fans at this point. So if this gets to a point where people have to start making a stand here, they're going to just sit here and be like, hey, look, we got to choose our money here because we don't have the NFL's TV contracts. We don't have the NBA's TV contracts where they can get away with doing stuff over there that we don't have that luxury of doing over here.
Well,
So-
they can always gravitate to the WNBA. I'm sure they'll be, they'll eagerly take those fans.
Look, baseball, I used to be huge into baseball, and I'm trying to get back into
how
it at
Mets
least a
doing
little
this
bit.
year?
Yeah, it makes it very hard. But then again, it's something to be used to, having lived in New York for the vast majority of my life. But look, at the end of the day, baseball is America's oldest pastime. Okay, chances are most people involved in your sport are more traditionalist than this bullshit that you're trying to push. All right, in the very least, if you're going to do something in regards to Pride Night, don't be fucking antagonistic towards the mass majority of the people that watch your fucking sport. It doesn't matter what state they're in and whatnot. It is a traditional sport in America. Okay, wake the fuck up, you dumb motherfuckers, if you want to have a league, years from now. My dad loves baseball. My grandfather absolutely loved baseball. He watched, even with dementia, we put on baseball for him because that was the one thing that truly comforted him. Besides stuff like Tom and Jerry and the Flintstones, that was the one thing that we would always make sure. Like, hey, my mom would be like, "Hey, Cassie, put baseball on for your grandfather." Or we would always make sure that was on for him, even if it was like old games. Just that was his thing. It is traditional. A lot of older people love and adore it, and they don't. And not just the fact that they're older. Most people just don't want to deal with political nonsense when they're watching baseball, let alone antagonistic
any
political
sport.
bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, it's the argument we used to say years ago. It's like, look, when people watch ESPN, they want sports. They don't want politics. They have CNN. They have Fox News. They have MSNBC. If they wanted politics, they would watch those networks. When you watch ESPN, you want sports. You don't want all this left-wing lectures that pretty much killed ESPN. And me and Rob talked about this a couple times on here. We used to be big sports junkies. There was times when we can watch ESPN 24 hours a day and not be bored because it was just a Rolodex of sports. You can't do that anymore because they've ruined the culture of what all these sports used to mean. To now it's just like another avenue to push divisive politics. And by the way, Rob does have a quick little note here. He's on the road right now, so he's not with us. But he says he knows he's supposed to hate the Mets, but he really hates Philadelphia. He just wanted you to know that. So.
Again, it always goes back to the question I ask: who is the target audience? When it came to the hockey pride warm-up jerseys, exactly what was the massive number of gay hockey fans that were clamoring to have a Pride Night a warm-up jersey? For the Pride Night in baseball, yeah, if you want to have an individual Pride Night, I have no objection to that. If you have an individual Faith and Family Night, I have no objection to that either. You could have that. I mean, they've always had theme nights. They've had like Hispanic Heritage Night and Asian American. I mean, that's fine. But I think with this, the mistake was in inviting this group, then disinviting them, and then re-inviting them. It was a reaction to panic. Kershaw's declaration that, I personally, devout Christian, am going to bring back Faith and Family Night. And
you want to know what it really is? Yeah. Is that they fucked around, they found out, and then they didn't like what they found out, and now they need to backtrack. That's pretty much where we're at there. So
yeah, but look, I saw that there were massive protesters. I think on a Sunday for the Dodgers game outside Dodger Stadium. Mm-hmm. They have every
right. I said, a lot of Mexicans, so you can't say, "Oh, it's the white supremacists." There was a lot of Mexicans out there.
Sorry, Mexicans are white supremacists. Have you not gotten the memo?
Oh yeah, they're here.
Any race is a white supremacist. It just depends on how you need them to vote.
Yeah,
to,
white is just an idea now. Anyone can be a white supremacist.
Exactly.
You don't actually have to be white anymore.
They're morally white, even if
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, Puerto Ricans, I think, are forever safe because it's even liberals themselves that say Puerto Ricans are just black people with good hair.
Mhm.
You are still a colony out there. So
Yeah,
that's
Puerto Ricans are
It's
literally like the
technically a
white women of
protectorate.
Hispanics. So let's
Oh.
just be very honest.
Fuck you.
I don't know. I live in Maine.
All right, well, let's hop over to our next story here. This one just got added in today because Samuel L. Jackson, who's supposed to be promoting his Disney Plus show, I believe comes out like later this week or sometime this week. I don't know. I don't follow Disney Plus anymore, but he brought up
Sam
Brie
Jackson.
Larson. For some weird reason, and apparently he let the world know that the reason why Brie Larson has become such an insufferable person over the last few years is because Donald Trump broke her, just like Donald Trump broke every other liberal in Hollywood over the last several years. And Samuel L. Jackson went to defend Brie Larson by saying that the election of Trump broke her, and then she has to deal with an army of incels who hate women. So this is a great way to promote your television show that you actually want people to watch. By the way, you call them
See,
incels.
I actually
and you call
don't
them the
think
problem.
they want people to watch this because I've heard it's really boring and really bad.
Well, we'll get to that here in a second. That also plays into this. But Samuel L. Jackson is reprising his role again as Nick Fury in the show Secret Invasion. Now, I do believe that this whole Secret Invasion crap was supposed to be like the next phase of the MCU at one point after Endgame, but I guess they kind of pivoted to the multiverse. So this thing kind of fell at the wayside, and they decided, oh, we'll just throw it on Disney Plus. But the show comes out later this week, and he had some interesting words about his co-star Brie Larson, who they're going to team together for the Marvels later this year, which I'm pretty sure is going to make tons of money for Disney. Jackson said in an interview with Rolling Stone that you're going to be in the Marvels with Brie Larson. He asked the interviewer, "You're going to be in the Marvels with Brie Larson. You two are good pals." She got so much hate for playing Captain Marvel for the more sexist side of Marvel's fan base. So you see this little lob up question that this interviewer asked here. It's like, yeah, how do you feel about the sexist man babies in your fan base? It's like, oh, great question there. What was it like to see her go through that? Because keep in mind, 2019 when that film came out, I believe, the media went to absurd lengths to defend Brie Larson and Captain Marvel on behalf of Disney, to the point where Rotten Tomatoes changed its entire review score for audiences so people couldn't give it a negative review. So they have a lot riding in for Brie Larson for some weird reason. But Jackson relayed the two actors bonded on the movie Kong. Skull Island that they did a couple of years ago. It says Brie is a stronger person than people give her credit for. We've done Kong together, which was not the most wonderful experience for either of us. We became great friends during that particular experience because we were both having such a hard time. She was doing the movie Unicorn Store, which I still haven't seen. I just heard it was awful. Trying to get a particular actor. I was not in the makeup trailer with her, and I was like, "Why are you trying to hire this other actor? Why not just try to get me to do your movie?" He says, I don't think I didn't think you would ever do it, so will you? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So that's kind of how they worked together on that little project, which is on Netflix. Jackson detailed how they continued the bond over the election of Donald Trump, and then apparently that broke her like it broke a lot of people. He relayed that we bonded through the election while we were doing the movie. When Donald Trump won, she was broken. I was like, don't let him break you. You have to be strong now, because it was a traumatizing moment when Trump got elected as president of the United States. Then flipping over to Captain Marvel, she was all like, they want me in the Marvel universe. Should I do it? And it was like, hell yeah, let's do it. But she's not going to let any of that stuff destroy her. When talking about Brie Larson's critics, he says, these incel dudes who hate strong women, or the fact that she's a feminist who has an opinion and she expressed it. Yeah, everyone wants people to be who they want them to be. She is who she is, and she's genuine that. Well, there you go. Keep in mind, this all stems back from like an interview she did years ago, saying how she was defending another Disney movie, shocker, that Wrinkle in Time movie that came out years ago that was horrible and it bombed. And all of a sudden she comes out saying that, well, she didn't need white male critics to tell her what didn't work about that movie because that movie wasn't made for them. And that's kind of what snowballed this whole thing in the first place. And of course, everyone went straight to, we must defend Brie Larson at all costs, even when her own co-stars don't like her. I wonder if you ask Chris Hemsworth or Don Cheadle about their relationship with Brie Larson, if they'll have a little slightly different story here than Samuel L. Jackson. But we're bringing up Brie Larson again. We're bringing up Trump again. It's 2023, and these people still can't get over it. So let me go ahead and ask you guys. I'll start with Orange Hat, who's coming back here. What do you think about Jackson's comments about Brie Larson and the meltdown that she had dealing with the election of Trump?
Could have sworn that was that, or I could have sworn Brie was that wailing bitch that was going, no! I mean, when he got elected,
maybe
I mean,
behind closed doors.
Exactly, pretty much. I mean, the fact that these people are so fucking weak that they are reacting like this to a guy who actually fucking kept money in their fucking pockets with the tax breaks and shit. What the fuck are you complaining about, first off? Oh, who's a racist? Fucking prove it. You got no proof. You can't provide a single piece of evidence to support that. And every time you do, well, every time they try to say, well, he hates black people, he fucking kept a homeless black woman in his freaking hotel free of charge because she was down on her luck. He hired a black woman during his freaking campaign. So don't give me that bullshit that he's fucking racist. I mean, these people are so fucking damaged ever since he announced that he was running as a Republican because they all loved him up to that moment. And let's not freaking beat around the bush, folks. They were so fucking in love with him that they wanted to be him until he said, I'm running on the Republican ticket. And that's when they all lost their shit. But the fact that Brie Larson is saying that, oh my God, it broke me and this and that. You are or Brie, to you I say this, you are the most sexist piece of shit I have ever fucking seen in Hollywood. Your movies are basically exercises in misandry if you have any creative input over them whatsoever. Kong Skull Island, that was a good movie that you did because your form of activism belongs in the 70s because that's when women were starting to break out into the man's area of employment and stuff like war photography and shit like that.
And it's been all downhill since.
And yeah, it's because your own fucking stupid choices that you decided to open your mouth in ways that turned people off. And Rotten Tomatoes, they didn't just change the audience score, they changed their entire fucking website to protect that movie because people had it down to like 9 or 8% interested in watching. That was people voicing.
By the way, that's when they created the term review bombing. They created that term specifically for that movie. This idea that, oh, people are being negative about this movie. They're review bombing it by saying that they're not interested in the film. Yeah, and all they were doing was saying, we're not interested in this film. We have concerns we have problems concerning the actress Brie Larson when she is out there freaking man bashing people, saying she doesn't want any white reporters at her press conferences, saying, oh, it's the patriarchy raining on my parade. There's no fucking such thing as the patriarchy or matriarchy in this fact. The only way that those things fucking exist are in families. Patriarch of family and a matriarch of family. If you're saying that, oh, the patriarchy exists, fucking male-dominated shit does not automatically mean a patriarchy. Mm-hmm. What it means is they just happen to be in charge. They happen to know what they're fucking doing, and they're doing it fucking well. This is the whole thing with like feminism in a nutshell. Like they always want to tell you that, oh no, we don't have any problems with men. We don't hate men, but get them in a closed room and get them talking about men. They don't have any good things to say about them either. She was literally saying, ever since I learned the martial arts for Captain Marvel, I've been wanting to go out and actually take a guy down. Mm-hmm. She actually wanted to instigate violence against men
just so she could show how tough she is. Bitch, that's not
Real
how you
quick
do it.
here. Real quick here, Neil. I think you might have asked this question before. Who's worse, Brie Larson and Jennifer Lawrence? I think the answer that I gave you last time is that say what you want about Brie Larson, but at least she hasn't thrown her entire family under the bus yet. Well, unlike Jennifer Lawrence. So
Pretty
based
sure
on
she
that
did,
and that
probably.
alone, Jennifer Lawrence is way worse than Brie Larson.
You
But
ain't
Both of
not
them
by
lying,
fucking
much.
dog.
belong in bug houses. Both of them
Mhm.
fucking belong in straitjackets, sitting in a puddle of their own piss, going nuts.
Well, here's the thing. I think at this point, I think the most sensible reality to a lot of these people in Hollywood is that, the whole Donald Trump broke this person is really an excuse. A lot of these people have no idea how to accept the reality. Not everything is going to go their way. And it's not necessarily Donald Trump that broke them. It's more so they've never, I guess, Donald Trump like becoming that, they've never dealt with such a heavy no to anything that they've dealt with. A lot of these people are just used to being told yes, yes, yes all the time. And it's not necessarily Trump himself that broke them. It's just being told no that broke them. That's how deranged, how childish these people are in nature. They aren't used to being told no. And having such a stern no for I guess 4 straight years that they couldn't get what they wanted, that in itself broke them. It's more so not necessarily Trump broke them, but the fact that they can't handle any form of actual adversity in their own lives because they're so fucking spoiled and they're so privileged. That in itself is what breaks a lot of these people. And Brie Larson definitely seems like one of those who has a hard time being told no. She just expects everything to be handed to her. And when she doesn't get what she wants, well, obviously to her, in her little warped mind, her little warped universe, it has to be some form of racism, sexism, this, that, whatever. There has to be some form of a grand conspiracy against this dumb bitch. That's essentially her thought process with anything, I guess, that doesn't go her fucking way. Because she proves it pretty much every chance that she gets.
Yep,
Yeah.
no doubts there. Johnson, you got anything you want to add to this one with your fat girl avatar?
Uh, Brie Larson, come on and play Fat Girl, and I'll forgive you.
Yeah, her career would have to be on quite a downturn to get her. But hey, you might be able to get Jennifer Lawrence at this point because it seems like she'll do anything. So,
Well,
What are you talking about? These people fail upwards, so she'd have to be doing extremely well.
I don't know. Weinstein's in jail, isn't he? So
Well, it's about J Law. It's real amusing that she was singled out in that "We Saw Your Boobs" number from the Oscars as never having shown her breasts, and now she's done full frontal nudity at least twice in whatever I'm going to watch and Red Sparrow. Was it whatever movie I'm supposed to watch this week? Anyway, I just don't understand why anyone would be so broken about an election. I mean, seriously, it was an election. I know I voted and I've had candidates that I've supported win and I've had them lose, and not once did I have meltdowns or go on crying for days or needed therapy to get over an election. It's an election. People just for whatever reason couldn't handle Trump winning. And for the record, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm puzzled as to why people had this kind of reaction. But it's interesting. The article says that Samuel Jackson says that she's a stronger person. Bree's a stronger person than most people think. And then in the next sentence, but an election broke her. But Donald Trump broke her. You can't be strong and be broken so easily because your chosen candidate lost. It doesn't make
it's
any
like
sense.
literally the interview. He's saying that she's stronger than people give her credit for, but also she got broken because the president that she didn't vote for lost or won the election, and that had a very severe mental effect on her. But she's strong, guys. Trust me, she's strong.
Trust me, maybe it was cruel, but there were times when I would see the video of the people at the Hillary election campaign headquarters or rally, and they were crying and just beside themselves. And I was puzzled as to why. I mean, yes, it's not fun to lose an election, but pull yourself together and move on with your life. And if you want to work to get your own chosen candidates elected, do that. That same thing happened when I went to the Beto victory party here in El Paso when he ran for Senate against Ted Cruz. Um, there were people at the end who were crying all over again. So it has nothing to do with the gender of the candidate. They were crying, and I was first. I don't know why I was the only one
I
still dancing to
remember
the
when
music.
Trump won, and there were people at my job who didn't show up to work the next day because they were so distraught. I just like mentally, I was just going around like, you bunch of
But you know
pussies.
what? This sentiment, like this, people feeling absolutely broken if their political, choice doesn't make it in office, goes to show the mind control the government essentially has put over people. That even people so privileged, such as Brie fucking Larson and all these other assholes in Hollywood who are so privileged, they have all the access in the world to get them the mass majority of things that they want. They don't really have the type of problems we general people, the general public, will encounter in our day-to-day lives. They're broken by this. It's like this mental thought that the government has put into people's minds that you need us, you need the government. You, like, the whole thing is like, it doesn't matter who gets into office, at the end of the day. Across my entire lifetime, there's been Republicans and Democrats in office. And guess what? Every single time we've lost more and more of our rights and freedoms. Doesn't matter which side happens to hold office. The one thing that stands true is that the most change, the most positive you could bring into your life is how much you as an individual bring, like what you bring to the table, what you do for yourself, what you provide for your family.
And
That's
just a quick
something.
note on that. Just a quick note on that. All of these people in Hollywood have been like, when Trump was elected, they acted like the world was falling apart. Now that Trump's gone, like, say what you want about him, but 4 years ago, Hollywood was in a much better shape when he was in charge. Now here we are in 2023. It seems like every single major studio is like on fire simultaneously. They're bleeding money. They don't have any money to put into these projects that they're losing money on. The economy is doing far worse than it was, and their guy is in, so they're supposed to be happy now for everything that's going on, even though their jobs and their output has severely declined in that same time period.
Yep, and they had no problem locking people up basically in their homes, and preventing them from going to the theaters. The only distraction that they had, they were very supportive of the lockdowns. So, but again, really, you lost an election. It's not the literal end of the world, but people who were crying and needed therapy and were just so distraught. I'm thinking, why? Why? Really, just pull yourself together. And just for the record, I did not vote for Beto. I went to his party because he had it at Southwest University Park, which was a block away from my job.
He said he went to a party. No one wants to hear anything else he has to say after that.
I will say one of the things I remember about the 2016 election that I thought was funny is that there was a university, I want to say it was in New York, where they did a gender swapped debate where they had a female version of Trump and they had a male version of Hillary trying to like debate each other. And the majority of students were like terribly confused because they came off agreeing more with the lady.
And
And-
it's just
Oh,
a
that's fucking
crisis.
awesome.
I honestly like I will say this, okay? Like I have a strong, like, my first instinct when I see Brie Larson is sympathy. I feel like, it's probably the whole motherhood thing that's made me soft, where it's like, oh, you poor dear, you don't have a lot of real friends, and the epitome of like privilege is to have someone else tell you how to think and act and look, and you have nothing of your own to leave behind. I feel sorry for you, and
That's
when it comes to
brutal
this,
pity.
what?
That's brutal pity.
I'm a mother. It's mixed in with all the guilt, I'm good at this. But it's, and and well, yeah, so we interrupted my groove, man. So, yeah, that was all I was gonna say. I pity her. She probably wanted some role in the Hillary Clinton docudrama series, maybe because she is blonde and blue-eyed too. I don't know. So
Yeah, I mean, my final thing on Brie for 1 second. I was true because you do hear the story that there are some people in Hollywood that are towing the line, but are secretly conservative and shit. I was kind of just in the back of my mind, like 10% hoping that maybe Brie Larson may have been one of them. But it's like, well, thanks, Sam. You just confirmed that now I can just totally freaking erase Brie from my mind.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
thank you, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean,
Nice.
you're a great actor. I can remove art, or I can separate art from artist with him. With her, she's a fucking mutant.
You say that now, Orange Hat, but once the Marvelettes defeats House Atreides and crushes the Mockingbird or Mockingjay prequel in the box office, you'll eat your words because we know that the Marvels is going to beat out Dune by like 80, 90 million
Would you
dollars.
please shut the hell up?
The reality is, while with Samuel L. Jackson, there's nothing that he's gonna say that's gonna stop me from watching Jackie Brown because that's one of my all-time favorite movies. With Brie Larson, there's nothing to lose. The bitch hasn't made anything that I give a single fuck about. So
I wish she wasn't in Kong Skull Island, to be completely honest. I mean, her role was kind of just not needed.
well, don't be like that where it's like you're triggered by the sight of her. Like I said,
No, I'm not triggered by the sight of her. I'm literally, as from a reviewing standpoint, her
Oh,
role was absolutely unnecessary.
she looks like one of those people, just like what was the girl, the girl from She-Hulk I was talking about earlier. She looks like one of those people who just need a hug. She's just like someone who just needs a hug and probably a good cry because she's been in this
And a
world
hanging.
of like misery for all her life, and maybe she just doesn't know any better. So,
Where's
What she needs
John?
is a
Where's
BDSM
John?
dungeon.
Where's John De La Rose when you need him? Because he's a passionate Brie Larson defender.
yeah, he's a simp. He's a simp.
the sad thing is, it's like, do I want to be hateful? No, but I know for a fact, if Brie Larson knew if any of us here had voted for Trump, that she would want you to die. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if that would be her thought process on that.
I didn't
So on
vote for
that
Trump.
front, no, but I'm saying, like, generally speaking, if she knew if any of us here had voted for Trump, like, she would essentially wish that we would die. That's kind of the thought process to a lot of these people in Hollywood, because they don't value even the most basic of things, like human life. They don't care about any of that shit.
Well, here's the thing: if they want, or if they wish us dead, then why don't they, in their infinite wisdom, because they automatically think they're better than everybody, fucking bring it on? Because I guarantee everybody watching this freaking podcast, if any of these fuckers ever went after somebody who they say is so evil, the conservatives, yada yada, the gun-toting wannabes, we're going to start a civil war. Your fucking terms are acceptable. Just remember, you're the ones who are afraid of guns. Just saying. You're the ones who would side with the government to try to take guns away from people, where the act of militia, which is what a Second Amendment allows, would pretty much say, yeah, lol, and you'd be swept aside pretty freaking quickly. No, I'm not condoning any murder or anything like that, folks. I'm simply saying these people are all talk and no fucking.
Here's what I'll say to lead us to our closer here. I don't condone murder. I don't condone violence, but I will condone a stone cold stunner. So that's something I will condone. So,
there you go.
There you go. All right, then. Well, it's time for the closer here, and I kept this one hot for you guys, but we're gonna close this one out with Ezra Miller. Guys, The Flash came out this week. We did a review on it last night. Me, Rick, Mexican Iron Man, Christian Toto had a good time reviewing that film. That's on our YouTube and Rumble if you want to check it out. But yeah, Flash, not a great movie, not the worst movie of the year, so it wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting, but still not a great movie, and it absolutely tanked at the box office. There's rumors I've heard saying that this movie will probably end up losing anywhere like $300 million for Warner Brothers, which is insane to me. But the reason, okay, let's go back here a little bit, kind of catch people up. Ezra Miller has been basically a menace to society for the last year. Like he's choked women out in foreign countries. He harassed a couple, robbed them. He threw a chair at a woman's head. He may have groomed some kids to be a part of his cult somewhere in Vermont. There was things about his compound having kids with firearms and stuff like that. He
Bullets
was
in their mouths.
threatening law enforcement with like a bulletproof vest on and stuff like that. So this guy's just been a complete menace to society for like the last few years. Over the last year or so, because apparently Warner Brothers had over $300 million invested in this film. They kept him under wraps for multiple months until this film came out, hoping that people would forget all about Ezra Miller and then they would just go watch the film because, hey, Michael Keaton is Batman in the movie. Go watch that one. And apparently this strategy did not work at all. This article here from Bounding from John says that they could lose about $150 million. Like I said, I've heard a number upwards of $300 million with the amount of money that they spent to produce this film. A lot of it was reshot and then a lot of it was marketed as well. So it'll probably be a hell of a lot more than $150 million for Warner Brothers, which makes you wonder why they even released it in the first place. You probably were better off just eating the cost at the long run, but the film has completely crashed and burned over its weekend projections. Keep in mind, when this first started, they said, it's going to do $140 million opening weekend. I think it was like domestic numbers. And then that went from 140 to about 70, just like that. Then it went from 70 to about, we're looking at 60 to 70 in that range. And I think it finished at about 55. So it even did way worse than that. Like this tracked horribly. And basically, John makes that point here. This is where it was initially projected. This is where it ended up going. Hollywood Reporter had it at $70 million range. Like I said, it opened at like 55. I think even the 4-day weekend with the Juneteenth holiday made it even less than that as well. So they're looking at a massive loss here with this film. People did not go support the Ezra Miller movie. That does not fool anyone. And there's a bigger story here because Ezra Miller is only one part of the problem. Here's the other part of the problem that Warner Brothers has at the moment. Over the course of the last year, they've burned their bridge with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They completely threw him under the bus. They remember when Black Adam only made like $400 million worldwide. And people were saying that, this shows that he's not a draw and that he's killed the DCEU with this film, and only for Shazam and Flash to do significantly worse than both of those movies. I mean, I'm not even sure if both of those movies combined will beat where Black Adam was at the end of the days. But they burned their bridge with The Rock. They burned their bridge with Henry Cavill. He was supposed to come back. Then he had to make an announcement on his Instagram that, actually, I'm not coming back because they don't want me back. Gal Gadot, from what I've heard, is not coming back as Wonder Woman. She's gone too. Zachary Levi is not coming back. So all of their most likable personalities, or at least on screen or behind the screen, they burned all their bridges with it because it's like we're not doing anything related to the Zack Snyder universe anymore. We're moving all in on James Gunn. James Gunn's going to be the future of DC moving forward. And I don't know how that's going to look. He's still casting for a Superman movie, but look, people have already pretty much said with their dollars that they're not interested in any of these DC movies. They're not going to be interested in the Blue Beetle. They're not going to be interested in Aquaman 2. And then if we're supposed to be waiting for a Superman movie to come out in 3 or 4 years, we're supposed to save this whole thing, like they might be in worse trouble than Disney at this point because their brand is so tainted that nobody wants anything to be associated with them at this point. This is how bad off they are right now. I'm gonna start this off with Cider because I know that Johnson and Orange Hat are going to go on tangents here, so I want to get some of you guys out here first. Cider, what's your thoughts on the Flash bombing and kind of just the future of Warner Brothers? Is it over? Can they salvage this thing? Like it doesn't look good at the moment.
Well, noted comic book legend and giant Chuck Dixon said in an interview recently that the age of the comic book movie is over. And I have to agree, this is going to go the way of the cowboy. Unfortunately, it's going to probably be a good 3 decades before anybody really attempts a substantial superhero anything again. Marvel and DC have successfully burnt this candle right down past the wick, cleared the candle holder. And on the most pointless crap at that. That's the worst part, is that none of the stories that truly inspire and speak to the American experience were ever featured in the MCU. Perhaps maybe Iron Man's movie at the beginning, but the rest of them were simply there to serve a corporate niche that was sponsoring them. And here we are. And it's burnt out and it's gone now. One of the most influential pieces of American culture just completely distilled down to what Scorsese called a theme park ride. And you can't disagree, man. Just slap a track on it, and Ragnarok's like any Disney ride you can go to right now.
Yeah. Like I said, the people keep. It seems like every couple of months we keep reviving this argument. Superhero fatigue. Is it real? Is it not real? And then
Agenda
no matter,
fatigue is real. That's what it is.
and then, but no matter how many of these films flop, there's been a lot of these films that have flopped over the last few years. There's still somebody making the excuse of, oh, well, it's not superhero fatigue. They just need to start making good movies again. And it's like, look, when you're Warner Brothers and Disney and you release a calendar of superhero movies that are supposed to come out in the next 5 to 10 years, and like people are like, dude, after a while, like it's pretty hard to care about what's going on here. It's like Disney pushed back all of their MCU films for like another couple of years, so you won't be seeing Secret Wars until like 2028. It's like, look, I'll be damn near 40 by the time any of these movies see the light of day. It's like, do I honestly even care anymore at this point? Like, I don't know. Everyone's muted for some weird reason, so I'll just go ahead and go with Johnson for being the non-muted person. What do you think about your boy Ezra Miller?
They would have made more money if they'd killed him. So
Literally or metaphorically?
In the movie.
In the movie.
Oh, okay.
They just drive by.
We should add the qualifier. If they killed off his character after him getting severely beat up a few times, more aggressively, I think they would have made a lot more money.
Well,
so, I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't know. This wasn't going to. I feel bad for
spoilers. Nobody's actually watching this movie, so go ahead.
I feel bad for all I feel bad for all the Flash fans out there that they're just so excited about finally getting a Flash movie, and then this is it. And it's like getting a kitten for Christmas, and then it like barfs up a bunch of garbage off the street. Blech. Sorry.
Look,
the
Flash fans can at least take the comfort of the TV show, which was highly successful and highly popular. And again, if they had bothered to include Grant Gustin in the Flash movie, either alternate universe or multi-universe, you might have had something. As to why they held on to Ezra Miller, it's an absurdity. And I've said this more than once. They could have recast him. He's not, or they recast Ezra Miller. Yes, I have to be careful. They could have just recast this individual and put in a younger actor. It's not like they haven't seen actors recast in roles. It's not like they were, recasting Chadwick Boseman, which they opted not to do, and that didn't go over well. So I don't know why they hold on to this person. There's no plan for this. The Flash is a terrible movie, and people just rejected it. It might have. Some people probably didn't go because Ezra Miller was in there. Some people just really have the superhero fatigue. Some people just don't care about the Flash, and some people just don't want to spend what $20-$30, if that, on going to see something that they might be able to see pretty soon. Think about it. Fast X is already going to be on streaming. They just wait a few weeks and
it's already money on streaming.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I bought the Super Mario Brothers movie for my kids already on streaming. So
JEC has a great comment here. He says all 5 really big Flash fans are really hurting.
Well, technically, to help slake the bloodthirst of CS, 2 Ezra Miller characters, technically 1 though, ended up dying in that film. So
yeah, and just for the record, Orange Hat, we did discuss this yesterday. George Clooney did come into this universe, as
I
I
heard.
said, and you thought no, it was impossible, but never underestimate the studio's ability to make
Mea culpa.
make bigger films.
I
out
do
of
want to
small.
answer Neo's question here. What about the counter argument about films like The Joker and The Batman? The Joker was a great movie in 2019. One of
Yeah.
my definitely top 3 favorite movies of the year. But they're already doing another one, and they've added Lady Gaga to it. So I'm already completely off the Joker board. With
It's a
that
musical.
She's a good singer for Top Gun, but let's not push it, folks. She's not a good actress.
And
Yeah.
then the other one was The Batman. I mean, I liked it, but I mean, there was definitely a lot more flaws in that movie that people are willing to admit. So
Yeah.
It was way too
They
long.
made the fucking Riddler an incel on purpose.
Well, look, man. At the end of the day, I'm glad comic book movies are dying. Because as even Cider was saying, they weren't even being executed appropriately. It's true. The reality is that comic books are deeply American, and we live in an age that's very anti-American.
Currently.
Even though Hollywood is Americana, it is, but they absolutely hate it, and we live in a world where, yeah, that true vision isn't going to come to pass. But as a film, like someone, I'm a fan of film. I love film from all different sorts of periods of time, really. But to me, my favorite point of time is to look at in regards to film is the 70s. Why is that? Because, well, the 70s, they sought to break all of the rules, to break all the traditions, but in ways that were innovative to film itself, not in ways deliberately to antagonize the people that they're trying to get to come to the theater. It's literally antithetical. It just doesn't make any sense. But to me, when I look at the 70s, they sought to break molds, to move forward, but also to stick to the format of what is the motion picture film experience. It is bringing the essentials to the screen and removing the non-essentials. They've tried to take these comic book movies for, and MCU is the biggest proprietor, and DC chose to follow with their cinematic universe as well, to where they tried to make television out of motion picture film. It is a mockery to the medium. They do not mesh. They're not supposed to. And this has shown that, yeah, maybe it'll work for a little while, but sooner or later, it's not going to transcend. And clearly it does not. So, like, Hollywood or just, whatever country, take this as a learning experience. Yes, it may work for a little while, but you must get back to what makes film a film experience. Otherwise, we're not going to the movie theaters. I'm not going to the movie theaters to see a 3-hour fucking bullshit ass comic book movie with fucking assholes in tights looking like dickheads for 3 fucking hours straight. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. I refuse to. You're an action film. Unless you're something that's like, intricate like the Joker, that's not really action comic book-esque. It's sort of its own thing. I want to go to the movies and see an action movie that's no more than like 2 hours long, doesn't waste my fucking time, doesn't choose to embellish in nonsensical buffoonery, just in hopes of, oh well, this cute little extra thing is going to really get to the audience. No, if it doesn't belong in the film, remove it from the film. If it's not essential to the film, stop wasting my fucking time. Action films aren't there to embellish in nonsense. No, like, be straightforward. Understand what film is. Hollywood does not understand what film is anymore. They've tried to redefine what film is and make it television. And that's why it doesn't work. That's why your 3-hour fucking movies are flops, and they deserve it.
Glaciator memes.
Cassie made me think of some things, and we're still going to wait for the best of Cassie on the Boardroom podcast special. First, I think the very first Superman, the Christopher Reeve version, came out in like the late 70s. I think maybe 1978.
78.
Yes. If you look at that film, one of the things that the Salkinds did right was they said, you can't be smarter than the material. You have to take this seriously, even though you're dealing with things that are perhaps silly to people, like man who flies from another planet, all this.
Underwear on the outside.
Yes, take this serious. You could have some little jokes, because I remember like there was a part where Superman's trying to run into the phone booth and he finds that it's just half. It's not like the whole booth. So you could have those little bits, but they took the material seriously. They got established actors to surround the new people, because Christopher Reeve was kind of a new person. So they got Marlon Brando, they got Gene Hackman in all these other roles, and they also brought in Mario Puzo to co-write the screenplay, who was not well versed in the Superman lore. Now what you have are people who seem to almost hate the genre. Think about what She-Hulk is. It was a product that where the people literally hated the whole concept. For all of these other Marvel movies and DCEU movies, they think that they're just going to be throw in some bits like Batman popping out, or like big budget explosions and all this, and you're going to get fans excited. No, people are getting tired, because really, Endgame really should have been the end game, and then maybe they could have done maybe one or two shows and spaced out the movies. But they thought more the better, and more the more profitable we're going to get, and people have been roundly rejecting them. Each succeeding Marvel movie has run diminishing returns. The TV shows, people are not watching those, and they're not following them. The DCEU has been pretty much a mess. Who here really thinks that Blue Beetle is going to do better than The Flash, or even Shazam? Who here really thinks that the was it Secret Invasion is
They
going to really be
threw
popular?
Look, they threw everything into the Flash besides Marlon Brando and fucking Linda Carter. That's literally what it. Not
Well,
forget
actually,
Ezra
Linda
Miller.
Carter was in the movie too.
Okay, so they even threw her. Forget Ezra Miller. What is truly fucking creepy to me is having Christopher Reeves and George Reeves in that fucking movie. That to me is disgraceful. Now,
West.
what as a fan of James Dean, the fact that they're going to make a fucking war movie with James Dean and think it's even remotely okay or respectful to James Dean himself. James Dean literally got into a fucking argument and almost fought the director on set of Giant because they were having a dispute, and James Dean would stay in his fucking he was refusing to come on to set. The director was like, yeah, oh, well, we're just going to get a stunt double for you. James Dean almost killed this motherfucker over something like that. So the fact that they're going to use his likeness to make a war movie is disgusting. I will never touch it. I will never touch. Forget Ezra Miller. I will never touch this fucking Flash movie just because of disgraceful, despicable shit. Like putting people that have been dead for fucking decades in the movie.
Yeah,
This is
and,
where we're fast forwarding to.
Well, not
like I
only-
said, as AI becomes more, let's just say, fast forwarded in our society, they're going to start, once they figure out the technology or have the technology down point where they already have your voice. I mean, as far as like AI voices go, they already have your voice. All they need is the face. If they can get the face right, they can essentially bring these actors, quote unquote, back from the dead and have them star in new movies. And all they need is, just get someone from the estate to sign off on it. And all of a sudden, we're bringing back dead actors now, because this is what we're doing. So
yeah, well, I will say that for all the grief that George Stevens got, the director of Giant from James Dean, he was the only one to, I think, win in out of Giant's Oscar nominations. It was best director. It lost, I think, every other category, which is a surprise. As for Christopher Reeve, George Reeves, we talked about this. I don't understand why none of the living actors who have played Superman could be brought back to make an appearance. Instead, they go for these figures. And with respect to George Reeves, not a lot of people are going to remember him. A lot of people are going to remember the 50s TV show. And then they
Yeah.
even included it in black and white, which I thought was an even more bizarre decision. I mean, they have a color series of the Superman TV show, but for some reason they opted for black and white. It was an irrational thing. They should have brought back some of the living Supermen if they really wanted to do something like that. It's a bizarre thing.
You know, it's like these creators are trying to be like pretentious in the most childish fucking ways ever. Like it's so weird. You're blatantly trying to be pretentious, but it's so small brained that it's literally insulting to even the most pretentious of them all.
The way that I see this whole thing, to give my full account on this, Ezra Miller's movie basically got the Bud Light treatment. They don't realize that if people know about how twisted a person is, because we all are the people who reported on this, we did our jobs well. We reported on it with detail, with as much information as we could that was available to us. And I will fully admit, I've talked with people offline and online. They're like, this, we've seen your stuff. Is this stuff actually true? It's like, I wouldn't have reported on it if it wasn't. And they're like, I don't think we could support this kind of stuff. I mean, sure, it would be cool to see Michael Keaton as Batman again, but not if it means giving that guy money. And they don't realize you pissed WB. You pissed off the fans. You attacked fans. You said your voices don't matter. People wanted to actually see a Black Adam versus Superman film. They wanted to see that. And yet, because The Rock was a little bit more popular than you guys, and also foolishly made his power play when he really honestly didn't need to, it's like, well, now we had a promise. It's now going unkept. And instead, you decided to bring on a guy who jokes about fucking touching kids as your creative consultant. Yeah, as your savior for DC's future. Nobody cares anymore. James Gunn, as much as I hate to admit it, he's a good director with the Marvel or with his Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. He was a great director in that movie. What he is doing with the other, or with DC, where he's changing it all up, people didn't want that. They wanted Henry Cavill. They wanted Black Adam. And they wanted them in a movie where they were going to fight. And instead, you guys decided, nah, we don't give a fuck about you. But Warner Brothers also has a bad imagery problem. They're supporting people who abuse their spouses. They're supporting people who terrorize women over 4 different fucking countries. They are supporting criminal behavior, and people are waking up to that. People are, contrary to popular belief, the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard thing was a huge wake-up call to a lot of people. And when they realize that she's still going to be in Aquaman, nobody's going to see Aquaman. Aquaman is going to bomb just as bad as The Flash did. Mark my words on that. They're not going to want to go to the theater and see Amber Heard on screen. She is literally poison to any franchise she is in.
This is just my biggest takeaway here. It's like, it's not really surprising to see where the DCEU has gone here, because even separate of the Ezra Miller situation, this whole setup of these DC movies or failing far before his personal life became public. But like I said, like, you take in the most marketable people in your franchise and you've pretty much thrown them away. Like, no Gal Gadot, no Henry Cavill, no Ben Affleck, no Rock. Throw all these people away, and you're gonna bank your entire future on James Gunn. And keep in mind, if this film had done well, they were still floating the idea of bringing Ezra Miller back. So they were looking for an excuse that they could have used to bring him back and make it seem like all his problems didn't actually happen. But fortunately, it didn't here. But it's like, yeah, you move towards like those people, but you're going to throw away all the other ones, which makes me think, like, has David Zaslav actually changed the culture at Warner Brothers, or is old Warner Brothers same as the new Warner Brothers at this point? And this is my
They
fear.
overpowered Zaslav. He came out saying that they're actually making moves over my head.
Well, that's bad news then, because here's my fear, and this is just what I think that
Because he
Hollywood's
wanted
going.
to get rid of Ezra.
Because what I think is going to happen here, and there's been rumors about this for a while, even though people try to pretend like it's not happening, but from what I've heard is that David Zaslav is basically dressing up Warner Brothers to be resold in a couple of years, and I think that Comcast is probably most likely the new front runner to buy Warner Brothers, which will, keep in mind, will be essentially buying Warner Brothers and buying Discovery as well in one fell swoop. And you're talking about a corporation that already has the largest market share of all entertainment right now. Like Comcast's outreach is far bigger than Disney, and that's saying something here. And then if they buy Warner Brothers, I know people are saying, "Oh, well, the government antitrust." Like, look, if you're holding out on the government to save you from Comcast buying Warner Brothers and all their properties, you're holding your breath. You're gonna suffocate there. But that's where I fear like this whole thing is going. Like they're just gonna dress up Warner Brothers as nice as they possibly can here for the next couple of years, and then turn it over to flip it right back up to Comcast. Because I mean, they're still losing billions of dollars. Like they came in like $55 billion in debt. I think they only cut that to about 47. So I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I'll let you guys take the final words on this one.
Well, think about it. They released this, but they held on. They held on to Batgirl?
Yeah.
And just think about, like they said, like we talked about yesterday. Just think about how bad Batgirl must have been if they were willing to release this, and this was disaster. You've got Blue Beetle coming up. Really, is anyone really expected to even open at number one? I mean, it's got to be a really weak weekend for that to open at number one. There's not going to, it's not going to have people. And I say this as someone who actually was looking forward to the Blue Beetle film, but I have no enthusiasm now. What's the DCU going to be afterwards? Without, they're going to have to find the new Superman. They're going to have to find a new Wonder Woman. Where we're not, people are not going to accept this forced reboot. Yeah, just end it. Just stop and wait. Let it come back. Give it some time to rest. It's not going to go. And Marvel too. It's starting to sink more and more. Please stop. Stop throwing away good money after bad. You're not going to turn the ship around.
Blue
Well,
Beetle.
I just
Blue-
want to say that the Batgirl movie may not have cost as much to shelve, right? So I was watching a documentary about Jay Leno taking over the Night Show, giving it up, and then taking it back over again. So maybe Ezra Miller's agent negotiated a massive buyout price on his contract. So like Henry Cable, not so much. Ben Affleck, not so much. Gal Gadot, not so much. But Ezra Miller, because he was dotted all over Warner Brothers studios. Remember, he was in that Harry Potter stuff, and then that couple of other crap that he was poking through. Then they had him out on CW. So he had multiple contracts throughout the WB networks. So he probably had a higher buyout cost. So they couldn't ditch him. So my theory about this movie is that it pretty much was constructed to give them a viable reason to toss Ezra without having to pay him $140 million out of his contract. I don't know if that's the number or not, but I'm figuring it's pretty high, right? Because they got rid of Henry real quick. So, Ben's gone too. So that's just my theory, is that his is really high.
These companies are not realizing a very valuable and very important truth. We're your bread makers. We are the ones who provide you with the profits that you need in order to survive. If you fucking turn on us, what do you think is going to happen? Now, I mean, yes, you do have the blind fans out there. You do have the people that if you slap a freaking logo on a jar of piss, they're going to fucking buy it and drink it. You have those stupid ones out there, the brain dead consumers. But then you have the majority of people who actually do have a set of morals that are going to look at you and say, if you continue to go down this path, we are not going to support it. And that is what is going on. look at what just happened with the Flash. If it does lose over fucking $150+ million, which it's on track of doing, that is because people made an effort to make sure that this movie didn't do well. They were posting the spoilers all over Twitter and all over online. They were letting you know this is what's going to be in it, and this, so you now don't need to see it. Me, I said over a year ago when they were starting to do this whole thing, there's no chance in fucking hell or heaven or earth that I am going to see that movie in theaters. I'm not going to support a criminal's behavior because, like it or not, folks, going to that theater, putting the money down, you did support him. I'm not blaming you or anything, but that is just the reality of it. You put your money into the theater, and that money goes to the box office and supports the endeavor that man was in. Now, me, I chose not to do that because honestly, it goes against everything I stand for. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I am not saying that at all. I am simply saying that is my personal choice. Now, other people, yes, I understand they can't do exactly what I do because content for us is kind of getting sparser right now. It's kind of getting harder to get more content out, especially if you limit yourself like I do. But this sort of stuff people need to start taking a stand against it.
I will kind of piggyback on what you said about truth, a little bit, Orange Cat, where a lot of these people that are behind these movies have forgotten truth. And I think it's worth pointing out that the DC animated movies are really good, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The scripts today are just being made by, like you said, people with an agenda, content mills. We got to get this out. Testing audiences, focus groups. They're more like Frankenstein studio projects than any one particular vision. I think for what it's worth, Blue Beetle will do okay, just for the fact that it's like one man's vision out of everything. Gunn seems to have a pretty good history of keeping his vision mostly intact, right? So, I also want to add that people today need to go to therapy, I think.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people turn to books, and I know from personal experience, you would go read a book you'd lose yourself to find yourself. Okay. The things that are true in literature and the universal truths of life are intensely personal ones at the same time. I'm feeling trapped. What do I do? I need a reason to hope and not give up and keep going. What do I do? And this idea, Brie Larson, getting broken by Donald Trump and the media in general, is that they've turned from making good stories about universal truths, even if they're contextualized problems. Obviously nobody's dressing up as a bat and running around New York City trying to find a bunch of clowns to beat up on. But this idea of becoming this figure of hope in a world that's full of darkness, and you seeking out the trouble to kind of save other people. I mean, that's a more general goal than Orange Man bad, and we need to anarchy.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it, even Gunn, I think Blue Beetle will be better than the Superman stuff, I think on some level, just because Gunn has said that there's a lot of his connection to his father, that he's kind of, it's this is not the time for you to put your therapy time into your script writing time, sir. Very few people are lucky enough to be good enough to get away with it. And I have to claim 95% of that credit right there,
Blue Beetle might not do as well as people are thinking, because a lot of people were not happy with that last line that they felt they had to put into that movie about Batman.
Oh yeah, Batman's a fascist.
Fascist.
It's like, dude, this is why people are not going to your fucking movies. You're putting stupid shit in like this, and they're saying no. My own dad had me do or asked me to do a video, which I did. It's like Hollywood is losing its audiences, especially even its older audiences, and they don't realize just how important they are because of all this crap that they're choosing to do. Hollywood wanted to punish people because they felt that people were unworthy to watch their stuff after 2016, after the election.
Yeah, and that's part of their like, I need to punish the people that punished me, you know, type of like, it's very retaliatory and very infantile. But I meant more like, I think Blue Beetle will probably have better writing than the Flash, and
Possible.
and it'll probably have more. I mean, it seems like it has more of the traditional hero arc. The nice thing about them wanting to bring in more diversity, I guess, is that they have to play it kind of safe and they can't lean into stereotypes. I mean, we've seen that with like other things so far. So it's
fair to say fundamentally the Blue Beetle movie may be a better film in terms of what they have to bring to the table, because they can't rely on all these cameos, they can't rely on all these gimmicky BS tactics to get people in the movie theater. They have to rely essentially on good directing, good storytelling.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't have this character isn't well known, so fundamentally, yes, the film may actually be better from a sense
in terms of quality.
Yes, but whether it'll get people to actually go to the movie theater to see it, I think it's one of those where it could more than likely be better than the Flash movie, but it's not going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't see the Flash movie, but I mean, the idea of like dealing with like the butterfly effect and different. I think it sounds like one of those movies that like it has some good ideas, but it's also like got really bad execution and it's very confusing and
well, the biggest problem with the movie, which we talked about last night, is the fact that it really forces the audience to empathize with Ezra Miller, which, you could say, well, it's just the character, but it's like, no, you're still requiring people to empathize with Ezra Miller, even in the sense of the movie where everyone like knows exactly the person he is in real life, which is a very difficult task. And among that, and then, like I said, the bigger question here in the grand scheme of things is, why in the hell did you put a $300 million movie behind Ezra Miller in the first place?
Well, not only that, doesn't he fail to learn his lesson?
Yeah, essentially.
Because
I don't know. He hasn't had to deal with George
changed something, had to fix that moment, but still changed another tiny thing when not, because he didn't learn his lesson, and therefore he fucked it all up at the end again.
Did the new Flash? So, like, when he came back to the future, did his Flash costume suddenly have nipples on the front?
No, he actually just pulled the Batman costume and sprayed tan over that one.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go.
All right.
Well, now we could have Flash nipples now that George Clooney is there.
Pretty much, you will probably, yeah. My favorite Flash is Michael Rosenbaum's Flash from Justice League Unlimited.
Fair enough.
I like the Flashpoint Paradox movie, which is another reason why
that is another good one as well.
To go watch this movie. I will say I don't think comic book movies today are made like I've seen a lot of stuff where it's like we don't read the source material, so I don't think a lot of comic books are actually following comic books. Like the comic book movies aren't following the comic books very well, and the ones that they are following are just
careful on letting
the bad ones, I guess.
Careful on letting your kids watch some of those DCAU ones because, like I said, especially the Suicide Squad Paradox one, because there's literally a freaking lesbian sex theme in that one.
Oh well, thanks for the tip. I have I haven't gotten that far into the animated universe. We're sticking with Superman and Batman right now. So.
You know what I
Well,
love
Batman
about C.S.
versus
Johnson
Robin gets pretty dark too.
is that when we actually go to her to speak, she has absolutely nothing to say, but it's only when other people are trying to speak that she has all the stuff in the world to say.
Well, that's why she plays so well off of other people. She plays
Mm-hmm.
well off of them. That's
I'm
where
trying.
that's where she shines.
I'm a great listener. So
Damn straight. You
yeah,
should have been a therapist.
I pretty much am.
One quick note here before we wrap this up is that I remember also another thing which is absolutely stupid. Keep in mind this is a 2.5-hour movie, but the director had to come out to clarify that no, Barry did not kill his own mother, and there wasn't some alternate universe of Barry that killed his own mother. It was actually Reverse Flash that killed Barry's mother, even though that character's not in the movie at all. And then he said that, oh, well, we were going to do Reverse Flash in the next movie. And then someone pointed out earlier today, I think it was Mr. H pointed out, it's like, why would you do that? You've already done Flashpoint. There's no point of bringing a Reverse Flash in because it's the exact same storyline. So what's even the point of trying to tease him for another movie when you've already done the storyline in this film?
And actually, when you really do think about it, in this movie, he actually does kill his mom because he has to ensure she dies.
Yep.
So yeah, the director, no, it's Andy Muschietti, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Next time, or stick to it movies.
Well, canon events, I'm sure can be changed. If we've not learned anything from the Citizen Kane of your generation, Across the Spider-Verse, that is one of the greatest films ever made.
Would you please shut the hell up?
How come I get that? How come I get that?
Because you keep on bringing
this
up
one-
that fucking Citizen Kane.
Shut up! Oh my god, I don't care!
I love how Rick is sticking his head on the side of it.
But yeah,
It's not me who's calling it one of the greatest films
when it
ever
comes to
made.
DC movies, the Flash's life is literally, that moment in his life is literally a defining point because he is literally one of the manipulators of the universe in the DC universe. And they didn't do that right in this movie. People don't realize that the Flash is actually quite important to the universe's existence.
Well, no, they had to talk about Barry's mom, and then Old Man Batman. That was the sell here. So I wonder why this movie didn't make a whole bunch of money at the box office, and people didn't want to go see it. But that will be a mystery that will be left for eons to be answered here as we wrap things up here on the Barroom Podcast. We had a great show, great talk with all you guys here, but we got to wrap things up. So we're gonna give you guys a chance to promote what you guys got coming up here. I'm gonna start with our good buddy Orange Hat. What's coming up on your cycle?
Well, I have tomorrow. I'm going to be on my friend Jade Shadow's channel. We're doing 1s and 2s. We're going to be doing Bogus Journey. July, I have a new stream set or a new stream thing going on where me and her do the 1s and 2s on her channel. We're going to be doing Thursday singles, hopefully, if her schedule allows, where we do one-off films. The first one we're going to be doing is Big Trouble in Little China. And Sundays, I do Infinity Saga Sundays with C.S. Johnson and the rest of the Hack crew. And we're up to Avengers Age of Ultron. We got our Tuesdays are mystery reviews in the afternoon. The hint for this one, because June is Sword Month, and this one is the longest, or the long game of vengeance is your hint. I will be dropping more hints throughout the week, and I'm just doing little review videos and covering some Bounding articles on my channel. So yeah, shout out to Bounding in the Comics for their constant content that I can help report on. But yeah, that's pretty much me. You can find me on here. I'm going back to my old Twitter account, which has more followers over there. So it's Orange Hat Patriot instead of the backup one, which is now Orange Hat 2185. So I'm gonna get it re-verified in July. But yeah, that's me. You can find me here also on Tuesday nights.
All right. Johnson, what you got coming up?
Well, I just have a lot of books that you can buy on Amazon. Actually, White Privilege, one of my Fat Girl books, is free to get. So if you want some white privilege for free, you can go buy it. So don't go download it. Go download it because you don't even have to spend any money doing it.
Yeah, don't go down on it, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my.
All right, Rick.
I get to follow that. Okay. I've just got
You did that on
more
purpose.
I've got more reviews coming up, and just more reviews coming up. That's all.
All right, short and to the point. Cider, what you got coming up?
I am on Dank Stream with John Delarose whenever his ADD peaks and he wants to do that. And also on my channel, I talk about anime. You can find me at Cider Hype on just about every platform.
All right, then. And then last but not least, our good buddy Cold Classic Cage. You got some plans?
I have 2 confirmed videos for tomorrow, maybe a third. So we'll see about that. I dropped 3 videos today on my YouTube channel, Cult Classic
yeah.
Cage. If you want to check that out, yeah, putting in that work. I'm talking a lot about stuff like Final Fantasy 16, which is literally like 48 hours away or something. So I'm super hyped for that. Also talking about Starfield and a lot of crazy stuff going on in gaming, guys. So if you're into video games, definitely follow me, Cult Classic Cage. Also, I have independent content for Kick. So like I have my YouTube channel and I also have Kick. A lot of people are moving over to Kick now. I'm seeing people that were like holding out, like, man, Kick is gonna, Kick ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna, ain't gonna fly for very long. Even now they're making a Kick account. So if you guys
Probably won't
want to,
now with Amaranth.
hey man, it is what it is on that front. They're gonna go wherever it is, and I think that a more open site should be open to people I don't even like, and quite frankly, I cannot stand. It's part of not impeding on other people's rights if I want my rights to be respected, right? So on that front, yeah, yo guys, check out Kick. It's really awesome. It's alternative to Twitch. I do a lot of content such as reacts, which I don't think society likes very much, at least the content that's presented to me to react to. I don't really have control over that, but play video
There's a bunch
games.
of like cartoon rap stuff, which is just an abomination on society. But continue.
Yes, but it's a lot of fun there. And if you want to communicate with me directly, just hit me up on Twitter, Cult Classic Cage across the board.
All right, then. And then swinging it back over here, let you guys we got coming up here. So I did put the links of our Kick in the chat there, so you can subscribe over there. We are on Rumble as well. Rumble, we're closing in on 100 subs on Rumble, closing in on 1,000 here on YouTube. So growing on those platforms, which is a good thing. This Friday night, our movie night is back, and we're watching the 1977 film Rolling Thunder. So that should be a very, very fun movie to watch. So definitely check us out this Friday night. I'll be on Twitch. It'll be on the Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. They'll be on those platforms. Won't be here on YouTube. Monday, me, Rick, and possibly Rob, depending on where he is at right now. I think he's in Iowa, something like that. So we're gonna be reviewing the new Jennifer Lawrence movie, No Hard Feelings. We're also gonna be reviewing the new Wes Anderson movie, Asteroid City. That's on Monday night. Then, of course, next Tuesday night, we're back here on the podcast once again for the Bar Room. So quick little shout out to everyone who joined us here tonight. See if I can get as many people as I can real quick. Neozoic, Duke Nukem, Alex vs. Evil, Rocky the Black Dragon, Slender Dad, Doba Fett, JEC. I think I gave Duke already. Spencer, Tatchis Jones. Who else do we have on here tonight? Mephisto of you joined us for a little bit. Yoel Martinez joined us for the show tonight. Let's see who else. Excalibur joined us for us a bit. Rich Swaglord joined us tonight. Make sure that I got everyone on here. I think I did. I think that covers up. I'm not going to mention anyone who's already on chat. They don't need any more outright. Right Wing who's joining us here tonight as well. I think that's pretty much it. So if I missed you, definitely thank you for joining us here on YouTube, here on Rumble, here on Kick, all these platforms. So until then, you all right over there?
Yeah, it's my cat.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. No, I was just hoping that someone wasn't like breaking into your house, like right as
Nah,
we were about to end the stream.
nah,
Crawling
just a
up.
cat
Oh,
lost one of its
several
lives. That's all. It's okay. Fell down the stairs.
oh.
Well, anyway, we'll see you guys hopefully Friday night for the movie night, and then we'll see you guys next week for more stuff here on Society Reviews YouTube channel. So until then, wave to the crowd. We're out of here. Adios, people.